Well, good evening, everybody. It's happy Friday to you. And we're here at actually, this last Friday of August. Kind of hard to believe with all the pandemic and things going on. It's hard to know exactly where we're at and what day of the week and what week it is and what month. But clearly, we're in the mood for a nice sixth round of the fun sessions, and I'm so glad that you could join us. Yeah, for anyone who has not been a part of this, then basically how this works is that I invited guests back who have done virtual interviews with me, and we answer questions to start off from the internet, and we just kind of go off on any old tangent. So sometimes we don't really ask that many questions because people have lots to say. We try not to be too serious. We're trying to be fun with this. It's not a round table. It's a fun table for a reason. It's Friday. It's like a virtual happy hour if you're somebody who drinks. If you don't drink, that's okay too. Just whatever relaxes you so that you can kind of hopefully have a good time. I've been getting some really interesting feedback from people from the earlier rounds who have been telling me that, which I kind of forget. A lot of people are using this as a podcast. So they have it on and they're doing something, but they hear everything. They might be working in their outside or in their garage or what have you. So they like hearing the talks, they're hearing the laughter and that type of thing. So that's fine. Obviously, if you're watching it too on Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, I do see the comments, and I think last week I did a better job of replying to the comments, at least on air. I do see, well, I've got one of the streams up running right now. And then, yeah, we just kind of go with it. So last week we went just about 2 hours, and the week before that was like an hour and 20 something minutes. And it's not really about the length, it's more about the conversation. And so if it's working well and people are enjoying it, then we kind of keep going. If people have other things they got going on in their schedules, and we kind of call it a night. So that's kind of how this works. Anyone that happened to have tuned into my warning interview on Sunday, thank you for joining. If you're watching this right now, you may have been wondering what happened to the rest of the interviews. The interview with the warning was the one that I had scheduled all from last week. I had interviews like 4 or 5 of them. And then this week was supposed to be where I was taking a break because of some other obligations that I have. So I am in the midst of trying to see if there's some other interviews to kind of work into the schedule. It's just trying to find that balance. And hi, Captain Blackwood and Alice TV. Nice to see you. I'm wearing my Alice shirt. You can kind of see it as I go back. So great to see everybody here. And yeah, so I'm just trying to do what I said I was going to do, which was to keep doing these on Fridays. And then the interviews I'll fit where I can. Yeah, good to see everybody. And Industrial Girl, hi, good to see you. Nice to see all the Alice folks showing up here. That's great. And gosh, what else was I going to say? That next week we have our first international guest coming, scheduled for oh gosh, I was almost going to say round table again. But the fun table, which is going to be raising a Miller in Mark's name. Well, hey, I'll raise, oh gosh, I forget what this beer is, but it came from Christiana's beer box. So cheers to you, Captain Blackwood. And, ooh, it's an IPA. And you can taste those hops. But next Friday, yes, we have our first international guest scheduled to come on board and do this. And then the following week, which is the 11th, is the Friday. We actually have to move it to Saturday the 12th. And that's because we have another international guest, and we couldn't make the time zone work at all. So we're going to be doing this at noon on Saturday, which maybe isn't the easiest time to drink. I can kind of drink anytime. But so I'll be posting this on my socials as I've been doing. And what is this? I just have Coors Light, also known as water. Hey, it still works. It's got some alcohol in it. So again, if that's your thing, cool. If not, that's okay too. Whatever's just kind of floating your boat. And so let's kind of get to it. My first guest tonight, normally I would start with the new guest, but this is the first co-ed edition in terms of the guests. So my first guest is someone who is a veteran of the Fun Table sessions. She was a part of Fun Table round 3. I don't even remember what date that was. I just know that was during the second leg of the Alice tour. And she's an opera singer, and her Miss Folkzilla single that came out, and her illustration with Tosh Cox's children's book, and just a million other things under the sun. So let's welcome to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Miss Nicole Bouffard. Hey, Nicole. Oh, your mic's muted.
Here we go. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks so much for joining me again. I guess we didn't scare you away the first time.
Nope. Just a little. I had to think about it.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to getting to this sixth round of the fun table tonight. And oops. And our second guest is brand new to the fun table sessions. You've seen his wife a lot on the fun table, but you have not seen him. So I thought it was about time that we invite him to speak his mind about all the wonderful, goofy ass topics that I come up with. So let's please welcome from Paper Nova, John Nguyen, and let's get him in here.
Hello, hello.
Hey, John, how are you?
Not too bad. Yeah, thanks for having me, Mark.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I remember way back when I did the first interview with Paper Nova back in May. My mom was watching, who you know, and she's actually probably watching this right now too. but she was saying, like, I've never heard John talk so much.
Oh.
I think a lot of times when they admit, it's usually Christiana talking, or you're kind of interjecting here and there, or maybe I'm talking too much. So she liked that. So I think she's really going to enjoy whatever you have to say tonight.
You're just putting me in the spot. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No pressure.
None at all.
All right. So let's see here. Before I forget, it looked like Nicole, did you have a can of Coke or something that you were drinking?
I do have. I need some caffeine. It's 10 o'clock here.
Oh.
Okay. And oh goodness, there's my mom. Now she's in the chat. Oh gosh. So Captain Blackwood saying, I think I remember that interview. And yeah, because I was still nervous. That's what I remember. That was like the third interview of the Alice tour back in May. It was because I had a Friday, Saturday, and then Paper Nova was on Sunday.
That was in May? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was that long ago. And I didn't start kind of relaxing until the interview after that, which was on Monday with Mike Gruel from Georgia. And so it's weird to think back about that time because I was in such a different headspace and just trying to figure all this stuff out. And I remember I was really nervous and everything else. And then on Nicole's case, met her on the second leg of the tour. And then John and you're in Christiana's case, you played with Alice on the second leg of the tour.
Oh, cool.
Super fun, yeah.
And so it's been obviously, I would not be doing this if I was not on that tour with Alice because, doing virtual interviews was the furthest thing from my mind back in May. I wasn't thinking about that kind of thing at all. And thanks, Captain Blackwood. You hit it like a veteran. I appreciate that. I'm just happy I don't have to worry about resolution anymore. Well, I'm glad you don't have to worry about resolution 2, Industrial Girl 25. And I was actually looking at your blog the other day because I know you've been doing some posts and kind of catching up on some of your post interviews and things that you've done with Mankind is Obsolete and all the other things, which I wasn't aware of. So that was really fun to read that stuff. So I'm glad that you're posting it on Instagram. So we have can of Coke. John, are you drinking anything?
Yeah, I'm drinking an Asahi.
Okay.
It's a light beer, yeah.
I like Asahi.
I used to be all about IPAs and everything. Then my body can't handle it anymore for some reason.
Yeah.
I've been just drinking light beer.
That's
what happens.
Light beer's the way to go, but I was really into sour beer. I love sour beer.
All of my friends are into it, yeah.
It's like, oh, I love some sour beer.
That's nice. I don't hear too many people talk about sours when we talk about craft beers. That's awesome.
That's my favorite.
So Nicole, just out of curiosity, are you kind of like staying away from the alcohol thing, or just kind of?
Yeah, I don't drink because I haven't had a drink in over a year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So no sour beers for you then.
I know. I miss that. I miss sour beer. I miss wine with food. Like I think when I eat, sometimes it's like, oh, I just wish I could have a glass of wine and. I just my body doesn't handle it well anymore. I don't want to be hungover.
Yeah.
And I know if I have a glass of wine, I'm going to finish the bottle. So that's kind of where that was going.
Got it.
I don't need to be drinking a bottle of wine. I just don't.
Yeah, no, and you're doing what's best for you, and that makes the most sense.
Although some sour beer would be probably the best for me right now. I would love that.
So it's the Industrial Girl. You're asking about sour beer. That's a style of beer that has wild yeast fermentation. So the yeast will actually get in there and really turn it sour. It's probably the closest thing. Like if you like to drink wine and you don't like beer, you probably want to try some light sour beers that will probably get you close to a wine taste. And it's definitely an acquired taste. I know a lot of craft beer drinkers, when it gets to sours, they're like, yeah, I'm not going there. But once you get into them, you can't stop. I like all levels of sour beer.
Oh God, I love it. And there's definitely levels of sour beer. So if IPA was a bitter flavor, sour beer is a tart flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you like I don't like IPA at all. I hate IPA. But you can get sour beer that has the same alcohol content that some of those crazy IPAs have. So you could go down to 4%, or you could go up to 12 or 14. So it's kind of the same variety, just a tart flavor. So good.
Yeah, and they first were using that wild yeast and using them in barrels and that type of thing, and then they started doing that whole. There's like a quick shortcut way to do sours, which kettle sours. That's what they're called, and I'm not. Really, it's just a method to kind of make it happen quicker, but it's not as authentic. So, if you're a purist like me, then you're not really into kettle sours. But if you gave me two of them, I probably couldn't tell the difference between a kettle and a barrel-aged sour. So, so recommend any brands. Well, you're in this is the Industrial Girl. You're in California, so if you can get your hands on anything from Russian River, any of the concentration lines, the shun lines, they all end with shun. Those are all sours, and we don't get those in Washington anymore. They stopped distribution a few years, actually probably more than a few years ago. But again, it kind of depends. If you like wine, then you might be okay with sours. But if you're just maybe not an alcohol person, period, then you might have to try out something else or something really, like Nicole was saying, maybe on the 4% side. That's a lighter tart before you get the whole mouth puckering type.
And just like sometimes the flavor, sometimes it's almost not pleasant, like some of those really high end ones. It's definitely like a not a refined taste, but a taste, something that grows on you.
It's a taste.
Acquired taste. It's a taste, trust me. It's so good though.
Yeah, exactly. A Bevmo run. That will solve your issue. You can go to the beer section at Bevmo and talk to one of the workers there. So I'm interested in getting a sour beer, and hopefully they know what you're talking about, and then they can kind of maybe walk you through something to start off with at least, and kind of go from there. I remember I was at a pumpkin beer festival, and they had one brewery there they said it was a sour, and my friend had never had sour, so I got the little 4-ounce sample because I like sours. And she said, so how is that? Does it really like sour taste? And I said, well, here, try some of it. And her mouth puckered so bad. And she was like, so on a scale of 1 to 10, Mark, how bad is that one? I said, that's like a 4. You're not even close.
Some people can't hang with that. Some people can't hang.
Let's see, I love Jameson Absolute. I think I can handle my alcohol. Okay, yeah, I would agree with that.
I would love, Absolute. There's another one, a good starter one is Duchess. I forget, Duchess of something.
Oh, boy.
Duchess of...
Starts with a
B.
B something.
Get that one to start with. It's a low percent. It's very mild, but it's still sour. So.
Right.
Duchess Duchess. I almost want to Google it.
Ramiro, if you just joined us, this is not about the warning, unfortunately. That interview was on Sunday. I do interviews with lots of other guests, and this is something called the Fun Table, where I bring guests back that I've interviewed virtually, and we just kind of have like a virtual happy hour. So this is kind of like why we're just talking about all kinds of random things. We're talking about beer right now, sour beer. So if that's not your thing, no problem, no worries whatsoever. But if you want to hang around, just kind of hear what kind of things we end up talking about, that's kind of what this is. And but stay tuned for hopefully some more formalized interviews down the road. So when you see this stuff behind me, that means we're doing the Fun Table. When you see like a standard color, like the red, the purple, the green in the backdrop, that means I'm doing a formal interview. So that's another way to kind of tell what's going on. Found you through the warning. Love beer. Oh, hey, Tigre, that's awesome. So we have the warning in common and we have beer in common. So
Two good things.
we're 2 for 2. And so for people, since we kind of have some new people that are kind of checking this out, I haven't done this before, but it kind of makes sense. Nicole, why don't you kind of let people know what your artistic background is? Because you have your hand in so many different things. Then we'll go to John, so people kind of know who I'm talking to.
Sure. So first of all, I have my master's degree in opera performance. I'm an opera singer. I work for the United States Army Band. I'm a singer for the Army. So that's what I do for a living. I also, write my own music. I'm Miss Folksilla, which you can look for on Pandora. You can stream on Spotify and whatnot. I'm an illustrator, illustrated Tosh Cox's children's book. She is the singer of Alice. And I just do a lot of stuff. So you can find me at myname.com.
Yeah, okay, great. And then John, how about yourself? Some artistic things, because you have your hands in a bunch of things too.
Nothing as impressive, but I'll go. I'm in the band Paper Nova. I've been playing music for, 18 years so far. And I play guitar in the band with my wife, Christiana Wu, who has been on the show multiple times. Lovely woman, my wife. And she's watching right now. I have to say it.
Actually, love her.
Yeah, but specifically, I play guitar, but we make our own tracks too. We produce our own songs as well. We're trying to get into more of an electronic route as well. And that's been my main primary focus.
Awesome. Yeah. So we have people that have their hands in not only music, but other things. And I guess I should kind of spend a little bit of time talking about my own thing. So people that know me as Eclectic Arts, it's before the pandemic, I was covering all kinds of live events. So obviously concerts, I was doing interviews and reviews and concert photography, but I was also covering the musical theater in terms of plays, the opera and dance of all types, but mainly with ballet, and also craft beer and kind of anything that I thought was interesting or artistic. Sometimes it was kind of pushing the envelope of what's artistic, but I would still do it. And then when the pandemic hit, then everything kind of went out the window because all the live things stopped. And I was kind of stuck with, what do I do now? And I was doing written interviews. And then right around early May, Tosh Cox from the band Alice invited me to do virtual interviews like this, which I'd never done before whatsoever. If you look at my YouTube channel, you'll be able to tell all that stuff was done in green rooms or on tour buses. This kind of stuff I just never did. I didn't want to sit there and talk to the camera like this and blog like other people do. That's their thing. I'm not knocking it, but it wasn't for me. And then I did the first leg of the Alice tour, which was 24 shows in 25 days. And then we had interim shows, which was on Thursdays and Sundays. I did 9 of those. And then we did the second leg of the Alice tour, which was like 13 shows, I want to say. So, and then they're off, in their cave doing things, percolating on stuff. They can kind of putting little tidbits out about what the Alice is up to. And so we're going to kind of come back together in October, is my understanding, and do a third leg of the tour. In the meantime, I do these fun table sessions on Fridays. And then when there's time in my schedule, then I try to schedule in the virtual interviews. And like everybody else, I've got day job commitments and everything else. So just trying to find that balance. And yes, the Army Band rocks. Okay, so that's for Nicole. That's awesome. Tigre is mentioning that. So that's kind of where we're at. So we're kind of all artistic, creative people here. And that's why I love this kind of thing and what we do. So does anybody have anything they want to ask before I get started, either virtually or hear from the guests? No? Okay. All right. So let's see what the first question will be. Oh boy. Okay. How would the world change if superheroes and supervillains actually existed?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess there's a lot of material out there that kind of depicts that if it was out there. It would probably be more of a popularity contest than anything, than actually just like driving change with people with superhero powers or anything like that. At least that's my take from it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And the cat, like, they're what is The Boys, I think is the show
Yeah.
where they show it being capitalized on.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. That's a pretty gnarly twist on the whole superhero thing, but is it wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, like from what I've figured from people for the past few months, not everyone is nice, and you can't really expect everyone to be very nice all the time. So, how many more supervillains than superheroes? Well,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very surprising how many people just don't care about other people.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, no.
So superheroes, it's like power. You get power. What is it? Ultimate power corrupts.
Yeah, like power corrupts. Absolutely.
Ultimately. Absolutely. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what would happen.
Yeah, I think just from the little bit I remember from the comic books that I used to read and that kind of thing, if we actually had superheroes walking around and villains, we'd have a lot more destruction. Just like what happened like in the Avengers films or those other kind of things where the people start getting up in arms. Look what they did to our whole city, that kind of thing. Even if they just saved the world from some major catastrophe. But I also think it would be weird, like if you had a bunch of if I looked down my street right now and there was a bunch of villains out there, what would they be doing? Would they care about somebody like me, or just are they looking for the superhero to take down?
Guess it depends. Do they want money? They probably want money.
Well, they won't want me then because I don't have any. So, but yeah, I don't know. I just think, maybe they're just trying to figure out what their big plan is to put into motion. They don't care about a little human, little pear-shaped human like me. We don't want a real Bane. Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think we need anyone that looks like Tom Hardy running around for real.
Right.
If it's just Tom, that's fine. But as the character, I don't think we want that. Do you have a villain that you happen to like from any of the superhero world?
Me? Everybody? Everybody?
Either one. This is just an open conversation.
I like Loki.
That's a good one.
I like Loki. And of course the Joker, but I feel like they're really overplaying that. Unfortunately, they've been overplaying the Joker for a while, but yeah, let's see. Oh my gosh, there's so many good bad guys. Bad guys are the best. I prefer the bad guys. They're way more interesting, at least from a cinema standpoint.
I can't really think of anything off the top of my head for some reason, but I don't know why this got into my head. Gargoyles. Do you remember that show from the 90s? Yeah. The 90s cartoon, which is like way more adult than it should have been for a kids show. But right. Do you remember the villain's name was Xanados, which is pretty much like a Lex Luthor type rich guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of I guess that's more realistic of what a villain is nowadays. But I'm not sure why I thought of that.
First villain.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense though. I mean, maybe you're thinking about that just because of the what we're going through as a society right now. So you're kind of looking at the more realistic villain, depending on how what side of the aisle you're on or whatever you want to call it. I think for me, I've always loved the Joker, like what Nicole was saying, but he has been played out so much that it's kind of like, well, maybe I should be picking somebody else. But gosh, who else would be? I was a big Daredevil fan, so I mean the Kingpin kind of fits in there.
Oh, yeah, Kingpin was great.
Yeah, and I do like Loki, like you mentioned, and I think once Tom Hiddleston took over that role in the movies, I think that really put it in a whole other stratosphere because I know I've met a lot of people just like him, just like Tom,
right?
But then they didn't even know who that villain was until it was brought to the screen.
Yeah.
Can we have a real Harley Quinn? Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker is my favorite. Okay, yeah, he was tremendous in that film. I mean, there's no question. He went as method as you could get. And but I mean, for me, I'm always going to look at. I like a little bit of all. I mean, I liked what Jack Nicholson did, and I like what obviously Heath Ledger did. I like what Joaquin did. I know people love to go over Jared and just ream him a new one for Justice League
He's
or
a
for
bad
Suicide Squad.
actor. I feel like
Thank you.
it's so bad. It's like embarrassingly bad. Like why are you famous? Why are people hiring you? Like stop. He's so bad.
See, and I don't know a lot of his past works. I only knew the name. I didn't know really else what else he's been in. But yeah,
I mean,
good.
The most notable thing I know him from is Requiem for a Dream, which was a good movie. It was very depressing, very, very sad. But I think it was carried by all the other actors as well. So yeah, the dude has like a weird cult following, definitely.
Yeah, I think there was one role he got, like he was really big for, and he was transgender.
Dallas Buyers Club.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And he got a ton of So maybe he did a really good job at that.
I haven't watched it though.
I don't. Yeah. Every time I've seen him, I'm like, why? Why?
Didn't he also? Does he also have like a band or something? Because I thought I've seen pictures of him on stage, like singing and stuff. He's got some kind of band that people seem to like, but I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, he did. I think he did do other things at least. Okay. Yeah.
So Industrial Girl's talking about Harley Quinn. I still remember when Harley Quinn came on I think, was she originated on the animated series, the Batman animated series from the early 90s?
That's where she originated from. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously she's spun off into all kinds of other levels of villainous now. But she was cool back then. I remember. I didn't see, what was that one, Birds of Prey or whatever the thing was that was most in like a year ago in the theater. They started sticking her name as a subtitle to get more people to go see it because it didn't always say Birds of Prey or whatever, and then it didn't have her name, and then they put that in there and it started getting more money. Even though I don't know if the movie was any good. Jessica Jones and Harley Quinn. Okay.
Jessica Jones is great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Cool. What about superheroes though? Is there a superhero that you liked either growing up or now or both?
Does Groot count?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay, I like Groot.
Okay, so we have a vote for Groot. Okay.
Growing up, I actually did like the Marvel series as well. Like, my favorite was Spider-Man. Actually, at the time, I actually like collected cards and everything like that. All the geeky things. But for some reason, I liked his just because he was kind of a smartass all the time too. Like it wasn't just like a very PC like I am virtuous whatever. He's like, hey, you old fogey, come on. Yeah.
What era of I don't know if I want to ask this, but I'm going to. What era of Spider-Man are we talking about?
The Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah.
Okay, like the McFarlane run? That era?
Early 90s. Yeah.
Okay. I had that whole, the first McFarlane issue through his run, and then that's when he did the Spider-Man #1, which is that big, huge seller, and then he went over to, what's that one? He and all those big Marvel guys. It's like, oh my gosh, this is a little terrible. Image, and started Image comic with Spawn and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Spawn was a big thing back then too.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
I see the Flash. Okay, yeah, and see, there's another character that back in my day, back when I had to walk in the snow 10 miles, the Flash was like a lesser character. It wasn't until like the television show and everything else really started to elevate that character.
Flash is cool.
Uh-huh.
What superhero power would you want out of all of them?
Oh, God.
That's easy for me. Teleportation. Okay. Teleportation because I'm lazy.
So just from the couch to the kitchen. I only need to go 10 feet. I don't need much. So
nothing big like, going across the country or going overseas. No, my kitchen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
That's funny.
Gosh, what would I want in terms of a superpower? I think mine would be kind of piggybacking on that a little bit. I would like to be able to fly. just to be able
That's a
just to
good
go up and just get the hell out wherever I'm trying to go. I'm not trying to solve any problems or help out or at all. I'd be completely selfish. I just want to get away, and just go somewhere. Or if I need to go on a beer run, I can go. In a minute, I'm there and I'm back. I don't have to think about anything. Superman, Batman. Adam West, good old style. Okay, laser eyes, cool. And then Nicole, what about you? You brought up the question.
I think that I would want to be able to be like a shapeshifter. So I could change my hair to whatever I want, whenever I want. And I could just, look however I feel like looking. And then I think the power of persuasion. I know some of the bad guys have that power and it's super dangerous, but that just seems like you could, make your $1 billion, just give me your money and then go somewhere. You don't have to bother anyone.
Just a one-hit deal. That's just pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. And then try not to use that power ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, with those powers, you could just go anywhere. Just do anything, actually.
Yeah.
That's dangerous, yeah.
And I forget what's the Purple Man, David Tennant with Jessica Jones.
Oh, yeah.
That was his power. But it was just complete power of persuasion.
That was a good villain. Yeah.
He couldn't even control it sometimes. Yeah, David Tennant's amazing.
Yeah, I like David Tennant too.
Do you guys like the Who? Or the Who? Doctor Who? I need more caffeine. Like Doctor Who.
Yes and yes. Yeah.
I like both.
My wife and I actually watched the first few seasons of it. So when it came back, there was that first Doctor and then David Tennant, and I think we quit after his Doctor. Yeah. Yeah.
David Tennant, sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love Doctor Who.
Speaking about Tennant, I really loved Broadchurch. That was a great show if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Detective show.
Yeah.
And he had his full-on Scottish accent in that.
It's super Scottish. Yeah.
Scottish. What are you saying, Scottish?
Yeah. It has both him and Olivia Colman, who I love too as an actress. It's a good show if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'm so behind on shows because I know most people, they have access to all kinds of things through either Netflix or just whatever kind of things they have going on. And I'm such a freaking dinosaur that I don't have access to most things. So I only hear about it and then maybe I finally catch up to things. But John knows Sarah. Sarah was the singer in my duo, and she was a big Doctor Who fan. So anything I heard from her. Me personally, I don't know much of anything. Again, I'll just be over here being a dinosaur. So with my little arms and everything else that I have going on. Okay, hey, well, that's great. That's one question, and we're at 7:33 already. So hey. Talked about all kinds of superhero geeky stuff, and that's great because last week we talked about Star Wars. We got on the subject of Star Wars.
Did you really?
Yeah. Well, that turns out one of the guests. I mean, I didn't realize that she and her husband are uber Star Wars geeks. So they had a whole curio cabinet. They had these the Darth Vader helmet and a Stormtrooper helmet. They're actually made by the same company that made the movie ones.
Oh, wow.
She took her her laptop and was showing us all the figures and all the other stuff. And we're like, holy crap. So we got on a whole kind of weird tangent, which is exactly what we like to do around here sometimes. Let's see. Let's find out another question that is new for everybody. This is kind of weird because I'm not really sure. What is your very first memory?
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, and we just had a question coming through the comments, but we'll answer this first, and then we'll get to this comment from Tigray.
Wow, yeah. Very first memory.
I think one of the earliest memories, I don't know if it would be the first, was a road trip with my family. They actually got an RV, and we actually went to Reno and down the West Coast. So I was really young then, but of course that's just kind of a big thing. You're actually going down and traveling. I was probably 3 at the time, but I think that was my first memory. I just remember being in the RV and then being at Circus. So that's
Vegas was family style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. No gambling for me at the age. Yeah.
No. Got you up on the slot machine. Yeah. Oh, that's kind of cute, actually.
Just gotta learn my vices early, right?
Oh, cute. Circus. Wow.
Yeah. I remember going back as an adult. It's like, this was way better.
It's also gone downhill.
I probably, that makes more sense.
Oh, I love Vegas. But yeah, I definitely had that like family decade where it was super family oriented because I know we went to my parents and I. So.
Nice.
So funny.
So Nicole, do you have a early memory that just comes to mind?
Gosh, yes. I can't think of like a first. I remember being at my grandparents' house a lot because both my parents worked. So I remember my grandparents' house. And I remember they would give me snacks in these little bowls and I would sit in their kitchen. And I remember they gave me kimchi. Like kimchi was like, I loved kimchi. So I would eat kimchi in this little tiny bowl at my grandparents' house. That's a memory I have. I must have been pretty small.
Okay. Was that in California?
Yeah. Santa Clara.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talked about your grandparents because for me, one of my early ones was definitely with my grandfather on my mom's side was a barber in the International District. So my mom has pictures of this. Apparently, the very first haircut I ever got was going to grandpa's in the International District in Seattle. And I'm like crying and don't want to be there and don't want to be in the chair. And my mom's taking pictures of this whole thing. And I remember for my 50th birthday, she actually emailed me, hey, remember some of these pictures? So those are the pictures she sent me of me like crying and making faces and stuff. And I just remember my grandpa had like this blower that would suck the loose hair off your head or whatever. And I just was like, I was deathly afraid of it because it had a really loud noise. So I didn't like it. When I got older, I grew to like it. I liked how it felt and everything. It's like all the hair off. Which is it's kind of funny now since I have no hair, but I do remember that being there. I don't know how long it took me to get used to Grandpa cutting my hair because eventually we would go, once a month or what have you, and then we would go eat lunch at one of the local restaurants in the International District. But yeah, I have visual proof of those early memories of Grandpa cutting my hair. Goodness,
that brings
so funny.
That brings up another traumatic early childhood story. So my sister still like speaks about this story all the time, but apparently my parents invited a barber over to our house to give me a haircut, and I was probably 4 or something like that, and he cut it, and it seemed like a little uneven. So my parents were like, "Oh, can you straighten it out?" Yeah, sure. And then he cut a little bit more. And then kept cutting a little bit more. So I looked like Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber, except even like shorter. And then my sister will always remember it because I was like sitting in my room for some reason. And then she like walked by the door and she did, she did a little jolt. And then right when she did that, like I just started crying because I knew how bad the haircut was.
It's so dramatic.
Like I had no sense of style as a 4-year-old, but I knew that was a bad haircut.
And it's also like I think kids get freaked out like you're taking a piece of them away.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gone. Like you don't understand that it's okay. Like a piece of me is gone.
Yeah.
So that's so funny. My dad, I have this weird memory. I was a little older in 3rd grade. We went to Jamaica and I had my hair, they got my hair braided in all the little braids. And they took out the braids when we got back home and my hair was like, kinky, like poopy from all the braids. And my dad decided that he liked it. So he went, when it wore off, he went and took me to get a perm. And I remember the smell of it. And I remember getting my picture with Kinky, and I told my mom just like a couple years ago, I was like, Mom, do you remember Dad took me to get a perm? Like, did you know that? And she was like, no, he didn't. I said, yes, he did. Like, I remember the smell. He took me to get a perm in 3rd grade. And the pictures you see of the frizz is not from the braids. He permed my hair. And my mom's like, no, he didn't do that. But I swear to God, I remember the smell, and I remember it in my hair.
Classic
I've never had a
denial.
perm. Yeah, I've never done that to myself.
Never happened.
Yeah. No, I was like, no, he did not do that. Yes. Definitely had a perm.
Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before I forget, Tigre asked a question like 10 minutes ago. John and Nicole, as an artist, what is important to you in your craft? And then he asked me something. So let's go with you two first. So what's important to you in your craft as artists?
I was just talking to my wife about this too, about just like, why do we do these things and everything like that. I think a big part of it is always just really enjoying what you're making, instead of just, I have to make it because it's popular. I have to make it because this would bring in more viewers, or this is more up to date. It has to really just come from like, I actually enjoy it. If I like it, that's worth it enough. I think that's a big part of it. If it's just like listening to other types of music just to get inspired or whatever, it really just has to come from inside, just so you're in a good place to start. So I think that's what's important to me.
It sounds like authenticity.
Yes, definitely. Mm-hmm.
I think that is like it's weird because I feel like there's 2 different types of artists. There's craftsmen, and then there's, I don't want to call it artists, but then there's artists. And this is my own delineation here, but a craftsman is someone that, does everything to the book as a learned type of project. So it's a craft. Their goal is perfection. Their goal is to reach a certain level of technique. And then there's someone who goes the other way, which is more authentic and wants to express things, but doesn't care so much about we all have both. I'm sure you have to have both to be successful. Honestly, you have to be authentic and creative and original and have that inner passion, like that right space, but you also have to practice the craftsmanship of it and get to that point where the technique is right. So I do find myself as an artist, my priorities are different depending on what medium I'm in. When I'm an opera singer, first comes the craftsmanship. It comes the technique. I spent years working on getting that perfect, being in a certain mold before I could enter my artistry into it. Mm-hmm. Because you just won't be listened to if you don't have the technique down. So it really depends. Like my own music, it's that authenticity that comes first. And sometimes I have to force myself to get into that craftsman mode. Like, no, you need to go slower. You need to do it right. You can't just splat out your feelings right now. Like you need to make it good. So I find that, my priorities with art and my intention with it changes depending on what I'm doing.
Okay, that makes sense. My question was, what is your favorite beer blend for craft beer?
Take a lifter.
That's hard. I know, like,
blend.
So one of actually the only brewery locally that I'm still a Mug Club member, founding member, whatever you want to call it, is Black Raven Brewing out in Redmond, Washington. So a little shout out to those guys. And one of actually, she's probably the head beer tender now, I would think, Karen, who I'm sure isn't watching this, but she was the queen of blending their beers. And so sometimes if I was in the mood, because a lot of times I didn't want blended beer, I didn't want this style mixed with another style, but she'd be like, Mark, you need to fucking try this. And she put something in front of me. I'm like, what is it? It was half this, half that. And she had one that to this day, I still don't remember exactly what 2 beers she blended together, but they worked so well, created a third beer basically. And I could have had growlers full of that thing, whatever she happened to do. And she still works for them, so she probably doesn't remember what she did either, because it was years ago. But if you're just talking about maybe even like not so much about blending, but about style, I started off liking lagers because I didn't like hops. I could not deal with hops at all when I first started drinking beer. And so I was into all the German beers that were lagers from the light to the dark. And then everyone has that segue transitional beer that gets them closer to hops. And for me, it was this beer called Jolly Roger, which is a local beer. It was a Christmas beer. And to this day, when I drink it now, it's like, it's not hoppy at all. But back then, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much hops going on in my mouth. And once I kind of got used to it, there's some part of it was like, I have an inkling that I want to have another bottle of that. So I have to go try to find it somewhere because it was kind of a local thing that they didn't have a lot of distribution back then in the day. And so I guess long story short, I like almost every style of beer now, but it took me a while to get there for sure. And it depends on my mood, just like my music or movies or whatever I want to watch. You know, today is a pretty nice day up here in Seattle. And granted, I have beer from John's wife, Christiana, that came.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I'm drinking those beers. But if I didn't have those, then it would become, so what do I feel like? What am I in the mood for? I probably would have reached for something dark because I've got a whole cellar full of beers I've been cellaring for too long. So anytime someone's wondering, like, well, Mark, do you need to go to the store to get some beer? It's like, no, I always have something. If you want fresh beer, that I don't have. But if you're okay with like stouts and porters and like some sours and some other things that have been cellared for a while, to have them start to shift and change, that I've got cases of. So, but I'm a social drinker. So when the pandemic hit, I really drank like during the Alice tour, depending on the day, like maybe a Friday or a Saturday, I would be drinking with my guests or with the fans and the band, that kind of a thing. I don't sit there and watch movies and drink at all. Thankfully, I don't do that. I think some people during the pandemic, I probably have started to do that kind of thing. It's like, well, what else am I going to do? Let's find something on Netflix and start drinking. And that's not me. I drink water most of the day. I'm an iced tea drinker, but when I do these kind of things, then my beer comes out because I'm talking with people and I'm interacting with people. And Abita, Voodoo, or their lager. Okay. Oh, Tigre also mentioned that his first memory was a rat next to an outside sink. Oh goodness. That's
what?
But when we go back to that question about your earliest memory, he was talking about it was huge, and he was maybe 2. It's from the New Orleans. Oh, Abita. Yeah, I'm familiar with Abita in terms of beer, being from the New Orleans area, and hopefully the people that are down there are safe from the huge hurricane that came through. And they're still dealing with that in parts of the south part of the U.S. right now. But so I guess the long story short, that would be my answer about beer. You didn't ask me about my artistic stuff, so I guess I don't get to answer that. So fine, be that way. No.
But we want to know.
Gotta answer it.
You have to answer.
I think I really like what Nicole said about how you have the 2 different kind of sides, and you have to kind of find that medium depending on what you're doing. I know as a guitar player, I took guitar lessons, and anytime I went, I still remember because I had 2 different guitar teachers, and anytime I went to my first teacher, he could tell like when I had not practiced or when I wasn't fretting the chord right or when I wasn't doing exactly what was supposed to happen, because I would get kind of lazy. It's kind of like, well, isn't this good enough? And then he was telling, no, this is why you need to know this, because this is what we're going to build off of next week. So if you don't have this right, your foundation's all messed up. So we're trying to build your foundation, Mark, get it right. And then he was also completely closed-minded too. So he loved the Beatles, and then he loved a couple of guitar players. That was kind of it. So if you brought something in that he didn't like, he'd kind of make a face, but he'd still, you're paying him, so he has to learn it. But I'm like, well, you're kind of giving me mixed signals here. And so once I can't remember why he left, but then we got Rick Knotts, who still lives in the area. He was a guitarist for Rail, toured with Van Halen, all kinds of other bands. They were a big band back in the 80s locally. And he was super open-minded, completely a 180 from my other guitar teacher. And he had I remember he had a poster up on his studio wall and had all these different guitar players. And I don't know if he was being nice to me or not, but he said I was the only student that he had that could name all but 2 guitarists on that collage.
Wow.
And one of them I still remember because one was Segovia, and I said Julian Bream because I didn't know the difference between the classical guitar players. And then the other guy, I forget who that was, but he had all kinds of people. And so if I brought something in, he would always find something positive about it, which made me feel good, which made me want to learn it more and learn it properly. And that stuck with me all the way through when I started teaching guitar lessons when I was a teacher many, many years ago. I had a guitar club on Thursdays, so it always stuck. I'd flash back to those guitar lessons with
Right.
with my second teacher, saying, "I got to watch what I say to my students because they're so." Especially, I work with junior high age students from 7th through 9th grade, and at that time, so Green Day was big, and Nirvana, and Soundgarden, all the grunge bands were huge at that time. So they'd bring something in, "Hey, Mr. S, can you learn this for me?" And I might say, like, "What is it?" And like, "Oh God." That's what I'm thinking in my head, but then I could
Yeah.
never say that to them because I had to realize that's to them is that how it was for me when I first heard Metallica or when I first heard the bands that I loved early on, and I would not want to have some adult say that to me when I was their age. So I try to I learn it and try to find something positive within it, and then that really kind of helped me just get better as a teacher, as a guitar player. And again, this was just a little club thing that I was doing outside of teaching that for my school that I was
Fun.
at. But I also know that specifically with Eclectic Arts, with the media piece, that I've told many people this. I've had to fight for every single thing I've gotten. I'm not connected to a website. I'm not connected to a newspaper, radio station, any of that kind of thing. So you have to be realistic, but then at the same time, you need to have your dreams there too, and try to find a way to make them work because there's going to be people that are going to outwork you if you decide to take the easy route. You have to know how to go about your business from the early stages. So if you're going to be somebody that thinks that you can kind of get over on somebody just to get ahead, it's going to come back to bite you pretty freaking quick. So if you kind of do things the right way from the get-go and kind of know where you're at, and also understand sometimes there is constructive criticism. That photo you took, what kind of settings did you have on your camera? Because it didn't come up, or it was really grainy. And then if you go, it wasn't grainy, you get defensive about it. Well, it's like,
Yeah.
no, they're just trying to explain to you that here's a way to make it better. Doing interviews. I've had so many questions over the years about how did you develop your interview style. I said it came from a multitude of things. Most of it from my day jobs, actually, not from doing the media stuff. It came from working with students, having really difficult conversations with young people, things that I wish I could erase, that I wouldn't have to have had talked about. All the things you see about in the news, you see on the internet these days, I've probably had conversations with the students that you read about. And we're talking about violence and drugs and gangs and special needs and gifted, the whole spectrum I've worked with. And so when you've had to have those kind of conversations, you have to open up yourself. You have to. And that means when I do the interviews, I have to open up myself when I do the interviews to try to connect with my guest. And if I don't do that, then things are just kind of on the surface. They just kind of stay up here. But I want to dig down here. I want to go through here because that's when you start connecting. The audience starts connecting with what you're doing with your interview, and then things start to get better. And you're never done. You've never hit that. You've never hit that plateau. Like, yes, I know exactly what I'm doing with that interview. No, it never. You'll never hit that. And I think that when I look back at the 46 interviews I did with Alice or what have you,
Wow, that's a lot.
it is a lot. And some I'm really, really proud of. Some are, I'd say a lot of them are in the middle. And there's a couple of them that are down here that, and I don't blame the guests. I blame me that I wasn't on my game. I didn't do enough research. I didn't pick up their body language enough to know that they weren't really feeling how we were doing this interview. So I should have asked different questions. And that's just kind of, I'm on a whole soapbox right now, but that's just kind of little tidbits. I know at some point, Alice had talked about we're going to do an interview of me, maybe during the third leg.
The table, huh?
Yeah.
The fun table.
Yeah, so it's going to be something where, because I've talked about, I wanted to interview the band members individually, not as a group. And then it was flipped around about, why don't we interview you too? And I was initially I said I would do it if we did like a written one. And then I came back and said, you know what, I'm actually okay with both. I'm okay with doing a written one. I'm also okay with doing one live, because obviously if you're live, you can't just perfect it. You can't perfect your answer like you can when you type something out and you can change it and delete it and backspace it and that kind of stuff. When it's live, it's like it's scoring. Like I'm seeing people's comments right now about, well, that's about craft beer, but I like your journey, passion. Well, Tigre, thank you. I really appreciate that. I really like your comment about throwing fear out the door. And like I've told other people, and I think Nicole and John will probably agree with this. You have to fail forward. You're gonna make mistakes, but as long as you're pushing forward with intention towards a goal, then you're on the right path. But if you keep making mistakes and keep falling backwards, that's when you have to question, think maybe I'm on the wrong path here, and I better kind of rethink things, because then you're not going to get anywhere, and then you're going to be frustrated, then you become a bloated alcoholic or whatever. And we don't want that for anybody. But and he said something about my craft beer brain went to. Oh, he left. Okay, no. So he was kind of apologizing for leaving me out of that artistic question because he had too much to drink. And as Captain Blackwood just said, failure can sometimes be an essential part of the pathway to success. I could not agree more.
Mm-hmm. It always is.
Yeah. I don't know anybody. You can pick, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, whoever you want. Everyone's failed at some point to get where they wanted to go, and even when they got there, they still failed at some point. So it's a part of the deal.
Yep, you got to get tough. That's for sure.
Yeah, and kind of speaking of this stuff, I was curious, Nicole, with having done so many different operas, and you had your own opera company at one point. I know you must have some stories about either like auditions or rehearsals or productions, either like funny things or something that was kind of like kind of quirky that happened, just kind of sticks off the top of your head as I say this to you. Anything you can share with us?
Oh God, I mean, oh God, it's kind of dark. I mean, all of it's kind of dark, all the things that are coming up to my thoughts. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of something that's funny that happened. I can't think of anything that's been funny. I mean, when you have a bad audition, it is what it is. I mean, there was a time I forgot the words to the national anthem. But in all fairness, I think I had heat exhaustion. So like the sun came down and I was just like, my body went into a cold sweat and the words were coming out of my mouth, but I was like, I don't know what language I'm singing in. It's like, what am I saying? Like, am I saying words? So I think I was having maybe not a stroke, but a heat exhaustion thing. Yeah. I mean, I got back on, but I stopped. This was in front of 30,000 people.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's scary. Oh my gosh.
So I was going to say, you're like, do you have any funny stories? I'm like, well, yeah, this one time, I think I had heat stroke and I forgot the words to the national anthem in front of 30,000 people and Fox TV. So there you go.
Oh my gosh.
Someone is writing to me. Oh gosh. Okay.
I guess for opera, you have one language that you're singing in Latin or Italian. I'm not sure exactly which.
We sing in multiple languages. Mm-hmm. So I love Italian. We sing in Italian, German, French. Some people love to sing in Russian. My main one is Italian. I love singing in Italian and German. I like German too. French, not my bag. I know I'm French, but like I don't like French. I think French sounds dumb, so I don't like it.
Damn.
I think it's a dumb language. It's actually just really hard.
Like I asked that because I grew up bilingual, so I knew Vietnamese and English. My Vietnamese is atrocious now because I don't practice it enough. And but I remember growing up, my dreams would be in Vietnamese, and then there would be a part where my dreams were in English. So like when you were describing like I don't know which language I'm speaking in right now, it's like sometimes that can happen. Like your brain is like trying to go like context switch into something else, which is very interesting. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. So you're out of practice because you just don't use it.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, I bet it would come right back.
I think if I actually like lived there or just spoke Vietnamese all the time with like my family or something like that, it would definitely come back. But definitely out of practice. I'm the youngest in my family, so like I always spoke in English with all of my brothers and sister. And their Vietnamese is better. It's like it declines as you get younger because you're just speaking English more. Yeah, it's like whatever.
Okay, I'll learn it. That's great. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 2 older brothers and my oldest sister. Okay. Yeah. So like their Vietnamese is perfect. It's fine. Oh. And then not mine.
And you're like, yeah. That's so cool, though.
Yeah.
I would love to be bilingual. I think I'd be closest to getting bilingual with Italian. When I was over there, I remember getting into a heated conversation with an Italian, and I ended up just speaking Italian. and I remember she came back to me a week later, and she was like, "You don't speak Italian?" I was like, "No, I was just mad. Like, it's just mad," and it just came out. So I think that like there's something in there for Italian in me. I just got to get it out.
It's an angry language, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I was like, so yeah.
Let's see here. Look up the Colonel Sanders story. Oh, I know what you mean. I saw a documentary about Colonel Sanders and how he ended up developing the secret herbs and spices for Kentucky Fried Chicken back in the day, and how many times he failed trying to get that thing to where he wanted it. And once he got it locked down, then it was like, we're not deviating from this whatsoever, and all the pressure cooker stuff that they're doing and all that kind of thing. And then Tigray said, Nicole, I found your YouTube channel, but the last video is 6 months old. Do you have a new YouTube channel somewhere? Anything else that he's supposed to be or he should be looking?
6 months old. Well, you know, we have been in quarantine for 6 months. So if it's you're talking about my army stuff, then yeah, I haven't had a show really to put up there.
That would make sense.
We do, and I have been producing and editing a lot of the virtual content, but since it's not me, like I don't know, I didn't really feel comfortable with the rights putting it on my personal one. I've snuck some live video, especially if it's just me or like a big performer. I kind of snuck it onto my YouTube, but generally speaking, if it's, you know, I try to. So the new virtual stuff, since it's already on platforms with the Army Band, I have avoided putting it on my own. But we do have a lot of virtual content we've been putting up in the past 6 months. Yeah, you should look up Seaside Rendezvous with the Army voices. That was really cute. We did a good job, and I edited it. It was fun. Really great.
And the other thing, Tigray, too, is that your Miss Folkzilla stuff, which is different than your opera, but that's out there for sure. If you want to hear the single, because that was debuted during the Alice tour.
Miss Folkzilla, like Godzilla, but Folkzilla.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that. And I have this. For me, it's kind of funny because I don't know if you remember this, Nicole, but before we did that interview and we're doing the pre-show for the Alice tour, I remember saying to you kind of a little bit about my background, and then you're kind of telling me about like what are some of the operas I saw, and I didn't want to say them because I knew I was going to butcher them in terms of the language and stuff. And sure enough, the very first one, I think it was like a Russian thing, and you're like, you immediately corrected me on what it was. I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to say anymore. I knew I was going to embarrass myself because I'm still new to the whole realm, but. Yeah, that's what I remember about that It's interesting. A lot of the guests that we've had on from the Alice tour, I remember certain things about each pre-show, and that's what I remember of yours. Supposed to be trying to say the Yunjin Onajin or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think I called it one jin or whatever I said. Like good grief. Do a quarantine concert. I will be there. Oh, okay, Nicole. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I gotta figure out how to do live because I got Ableton. I'm working on my writing some beats. Maybe you guys over at Paper Nova can help me out. You did a live thing?
Yeah, that was our first time actually connecting everything through our mixer instead of just having really shoddy live music coming through a phone or something. It's working out pretty well. Yeah, we'll have to do something. Yeah.
I just need to know how. Like I worry that the live thing, but this what is this? This is StreamYard.
StreamYard, yeah. Yeah. I feel like some of the artists that were on Alice's tour, they had like amazing sound. I don't know if they were live or not. We're questioning it because it sounded so good. So yeah. Yeah, we had to like buy a bunch of equipment like before.
Did you?
One of our first shows, yeah. Not too much, just like a compressor because certain things, yeah.
For video?
Not for the video, just for the sound, for the audio.
Gotcha.
Yeah. For video, we just got like a little webcam. Like this, I'm using it right now, actually.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you don't have to worry about that. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Our
Yeah.
internet sucks though.
No, no.
It's always chopping in and out like at the worst times.
I
So
hate that.
and we can't upgrade it. Like there's no options around here, so it's too bad.
Right.
But anyways,
Yeah. I
yeah.
know they get that conglomerate going and they don't want to, they can do whatever they want. They're like, get internet.
Now everyone wants internet, like
Yeah.
needs it now. Yeah,
We
it's crazy.
need it. We have to
Mhm.
have it now.
Uh-huh.
We have to work.
I remember being excited getting my first cell phone, like those old Nokia bricks. It's like I can actually communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was that. Yeah, that was. I remember pagers.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, I'm old.
You're not
Okay.
as old as me.
Oh, wow.
That can always make you feel good, I would think.
You just written A. You might not know.
And like I see Captain Blackwood's talking about all the things that you can do with Twitch is amazing. And what I found out, and Tigray watched this, anybody else that was from the warning thing, is that Twitch is maybe great for gamers and people in the U.S., but when it goes international, they don't know it. I mean, it was like YouTube was way up here, Facebook Live was right below it, and then Twitch was way down on the third part in terms of viewership for me when I went international because the band's from Mexico. So, and I know like with Alice, they've done international shows as well. And so I think they kind of knew too, like which platforms to try to hit based on where you're at. So if you're doing US things, that makes sense. But right now, that's why I'm making sure I do all three of them so people can see it somewhere. Even like my cousin was watching it last week because he was flipping through Facebook. He's like, hey, there's Mark. And yeah, and he didn't even really know because they just don't tune into this kind of stuff. Plus, there's so many live streams on Fridays and Saturdays. That's what I'm finding. Just like pre-pandemic, when you want to go out, you go out on a Friday or a Saturday night. Now live streams are exact same kind of competition. I don't know how many messages I saw about just going live at 6, going live at 6:30, going live at whatever today. So it's like now you have to kind of figure out what day do I go because you're in direct competition with somebody else. And if you're looking at viewership kind of things, that kind of number stuff, I have to be aware of that only, not for this, but when I do interviews, because every single publicist, every manager, and rightfully so, is going to ask about your viewership numbers, and they're going to ask about your social media analytics across the board. They want to know all of that stuff. And I was never that kind of person. But I've mentioned it a few times during the Alice tour about, oh, hey, we got 30 people watching, or we got 40 people watching. And then depending on which person I'm talking to, publicity-wise or management-wise, they're like, that's nothing. We're not going to book another guest with you until you get your numbers up. So I was like, that's the behind-the-scenes stuff that I have to deal with, depending on who I book with. But the pandemic, the silver lining has been a lot of times I don't have to deal with that element. I'm dealing directly with the person.
Yeah.
Right.
So if they want to do it, then they do it. But once we get past this, then I'm back to that.
Yeah, there's gatekeepers with everything.
Yep.
There's always the gatekeepers.
Always. And,
it's funny that you mentioned. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned like the Fridays and Saturdays. Of course, everyone's weekend is there too. And we were streaming, I think, a few weeks ago, like on a Tuesday night, and it felt pretty much like playing it at a dirty dive club because only like 2 people are there. It's lonely. No one's. It's like there's no quarantine at all. Yeah.
Making songs up as we go.
Put your last drink and go.
Yeah.
Last call.
I'm gonna drink till tomorrow. That is too funny. I love it though. I mean, hopefully I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll all figure it out.
Yeah.
People have done an amazing job at adapting, and I think that it's been great to see people's response to art and artists adapting. Yeah. I would not have expected that. The type of positive feedback just in general for artists.
Yeah, and it feels like it's evolving into something that a lot of people just had no idea about. So I don't think people are very clear about which direction it's gonna go into as well. Like one weird popular thing is on Saturday mornings, Twitch airs a lot of DJs. Like I'm not sure if it's like a time zone thing, which it doesn't make sense because it's like 9 a.m. like Pacific time, and there's like 100 DJs playing. It's like everyone's really excited for Saturday. I guess they just want to start early.
That's just where they have to put them all. It's like there's too many. There's too many DJs.
Yeah, like I never actively went to like, you know, I guess it's kind of like a daytime party thing, but I've never actively like gone to like a dance club or something. And on a Saturday morning, that's my hangover time. So.
Yeah, who wants to go on a Saturday morning? You're like, my party's just starting.
Yeah, exactly.
9 a.m. No, thank you.
Yeah, right.
I know.
That's interesting. That gives me a little bit of hope for that one I'm going to be doing on Saturday at noon in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I might get some random DJ fans or something spill over into my live stream. Yeah, because I'm still figuring this stuff out. And we have people in the chat that have been using Twitch forever. When I used to work at DigiPen, every student that I had their own Twitch channel because they're all gamers. Mm-hmm. And that's why I first learned about it. And now, John, I know you work there. And so it's really been like a learning process for me about this whole virtual thing. And like what Nicole said, I still go back to what the first guests on the Alice tour had said, that the actors and dancers that have worked with the band, that the creative people will find a way to make this work during this pandemic. And they've basically been right, that because of the way our brains are wired, or whatever you want to call it, that we will look at things a little bit differently and say, well, we can't do this right now, but we could do this, or what about that? Or what if we change this and twist things around? And, you know, it kind of works out well. And Bar Sinister has a Saturday Twitch stream because that's when they're usually open. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. So it's, yeah, and I know there's certain things I've been trying to watch as I do these about like what days are you supposed to be on, and what kind of protocols should you be using to build up your audience and all that kind of stuff. And I don't really know exactly where I'm at with any of it because I just like doing it. And obviously, if I can maximize my audience, that helps. But some people, that's what they want to do. They have 100,000 followers. They've monetized everything, and that's not necessarily my goal. Maybe it should be. I don't know. I'm just trying to keep doing what I like doing, and then I'm going to build off of that. That's kind of the way I look at it. Doing these on Fridays made the most sense because it's end of the week for some people. If you work retail or something else, and your Friday could be Tuesday or Wednesday, who knows? But it does help, and it makes sense when at 7:00 on Fridays, Mark's doing this. Then it doesn't matter who they know is going to be here, but at least they can tune in and see, oh, this is what's going on, and then stay or leave or whatever. But again, I'm such a dinosaur that I'm still trying to keep up with everything that's going on, let alone what's the current thing.
Yeah, you got to keep pace. Pace.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Time makes you tired.
Yes. Now I don't even know the answer to this one. What movie or book character are you most similar to?
I don't know.
I'm thinking of every generic main character in an anime.
Nice.
No personality. You just put yourself in that character and you're good. No, that's a hard one. I think always the quiet characters. It's really annoying to me that the first one I thought of was like a killer. Have you seen Misfits? Like the old BB, or I think it was a Channel 4 show. It's like a British show. I think it's aired probably 10 years ago now, but it's about a bunch of delinquents who are like pretty much doing community service, and they get superpowers. But since they're just delinquents, they do whatever with their superpowers. They're not responsible or anything. Oh. And one of the characters can turn invisible. It's like their powers reflect something about their personality. And the person that was like the shy guy could turn invisible because he thought no one was looking at him. So I thought that was the perspective of that. I'm not that shy, but I kind of identified with that compared to all the other characters. But I would actually highly recommend that show if ever.
Misfits. This sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard of it.
I feel like Misfits is used everywhere, like as a term, but.
Right. It could be something. Yeah, I could be referencing something else in my head. But I know it's not the band. I know.
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like somebody, Industrial Girl has heard of that show. I think was what her chat thing is. And then Tigray says Rudy, the football story of the actual player that was told he would never play football, but with Sean Astin playing that character of Rudy. And then Captain Blackwood's talking about Richard Sharp from the series of the same name. Takes no BS, hardworking, does his job, no matter who tries to throw him under the bus. Okay. Nicole, anything come to mind? I'm kind of
Those
struggling.
are really good answers. And I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Who do I identify with? I guess like Jessica Jones.
That's a good one. I take
but
that.
I quit drinking, It's a reason.
It's like a season 5 Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I did relate a lot to Jessica Jones, actually.
Okay.
It's so dark, It's so dark. I don't think I'm that dark.
Well, kind of like when John was saying that for whatever reason his mind went to a killer initially when he was thinking about the question. And
we think the darkest about ourselves, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
For me, my mind immediately went to The Crow.
Oh yeah, it's another dark one.
Yeah.
Another dark one. I've always, with the guitar playing and the loving of metal and industrial and goth music and that's kind of part of who I am. Before he was killed, he was just trying to live his life with his fiance and just to go about his business. And then, the thugs got in there and made things awful for him, obviously by killing him and her. And so for some reason, I don't, just in like a weird, I don't know, wishful thinking movie mode, that's what I came up with. But if I had to think of something realistically, like what I'm like on a day-to-day basis,
yeah, it's hard.
That's hard.
That's hard.
I'm not Rudy. I mean, I don't have that wherewithal. I would give up after a while. I'm not going to keep trying. I know movies that I like, but I'm not in those movies. I don't see myself in these characters. Like my students used to always ask, "What's your favorite movie?" Which is like impossible to answer. So I always say, "Well, I have one of my favorite movies," and I would tell them what it is. I can't. That's hard, and I don't read as much as I used to, and that's really bad if you're a writer. You need to be reading if you write. And I've noticed that my writing, the only thing that's kind of kept me above water is because I've had to do reviews and things recently and continually do those. If I wasn't writing for, like, say, a few weeks, up to a month, I would notice how bad my writing would have gotten quickly. But thankfully, I keep getting films to review. I just had one last night, so it's like I just got 4 more today. That keeps me going, keeps me writing, keeps me thinking, and I can just thank those people. Deadpool, but not as loud from Industrial Girl. Or Darkman. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love
Darkman's cool.
Sam Raimi. I saw Darkman in the theater. That's how old I am. Love that movie with Liam Neeson. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. Where did I get all these questions? Are so tough. Let me find some questions that are a little bit easier. Okay, so this is what I started off the conversation last Friday, which is, are you usually early or late?
Oh.
I'm always early.
You were an hour early. You were an hour early for our interview.
Yeah.
I remember you were kind of like, where are you?
Yeah. There you go. And I just waited with Alice. Like and Scott was like, "Oh yeah, I saw you in the waiting room." I'm just like always early.
Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense. So Nicole's always early. Industrial Girl's right on time. Okay. And John?
It's kind of a mix. For like important events, I'm always early. Like I always got to be there like really early, and I'll just like awkwardly walk around like a lobby or something. But
just wait,
yeah. Like, and especially if I don't have a car to just wait in, I'm just like just waiting around.
I am here. Don't mind me. I will talk to you soon. I'm gonna sit down.
Yeah. Later. I'll talk to you later.
I'll talk to you later.
But in terms of sleep, I love my sleep. So I usually wake up later then I get up early. Like, I think it's a hereditary thing. Like, everyone in my family besides my mom wakes up late. Like they like to sleep in usually. So yeah, I think I just get it from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I see T. Grace is late. Need to work on that. I leave just in the nick of time to make it somewhere. Industrial Girl also mentioned depends if it's a show. She'll get there early. So that kind of goes along with what John had mentioned. Excuse me. Last week I mentioned the same thing, that for my parents, they're always early. They kind of instilled that in me, like you want to be early, you don't want to be late. And it's kind of bled over to everything I do in my life. And to the point, I also mentioned this last week, that I think some of my friends get a little annoyed with it because I'll show up like 30 minutes early somewhere, and I'm not trying to make them say like they need to be there at the same time. I'm just like texting them saying, hey, just letting you know I parked. I'm here on the grounds of the Seattle Center or wherever. And they're kind of like, Mark, what the fuck? I mean, what are you doing there so early?
You don't need so much pressure, Mark. Come on.
Yeah, and I was like, no, take your time. We can still meet at 7 like we agreed or whatever. But I'm just letting you know I'm here at 6:30 and I'm wandering around looking at trees or whatever. And I'm always overcompensating for traffic, for parking, for everything else, because I just don't want, especially if it's something that I invited somebody to, I don't want to have them waiting for me. I don't care if I'm waiting around, killing some time. That's fine. But I don't like it. But at the same time, like what John was saying, I don't know if my family's like this, but I've never been a morning person ever. I want my sleep. I need my sleep. I love it. And if I don't have anything on my schedule that day, then it's like, yay, I can just kind of do whatever. Some people are not like that. I used to work with a guy that was an early bird, and we were complete polar opposites. He would be at work at 6:45, and we didn't have to be there till 8. And then if I happen to get there like maybe 7:15, he's like, man, why are you so late? I'm like, it's 45 minutes early. What are you talking about? Why am I late? But some people are like that, some people aren't. And I'm not one of those people. But like what Industrial Girl was saying, when it comes to concerts, whether I'm going as a fan or as a media member, I'm always compensating for traffic and parking, all that other kind of stuff. So I try to get there early, make sure that I have all my ducks in a row, so that you can never know what's going on with the band. You never know what's going on with their tour managers and everybody else that's involved with that kind of stuff. So I don't want to have them saying, hey, Mark, we can do it now, and I'm not there. Like if it's an interview, because then that looks bad on me. So it's like, no, I'll be there just to kind of kill some time. You'll be at the bar or whatever. And then when you're ready to go, get on the tour bus and do what I'm supposed to do. But that's just kind of my protocol when it comes to stuff. Talking about that stuff makes me wish we could do that so much right now. But in terms of getting ready for a live event, any kind of event, it doesn't matter if it's the opera or the ballet or a concert, I miss it so much. And we know it's coming back at some point. It'll probably look a little bit different in terms of the transitional period. So we're already kind of in that transitional period with some countries in terms of they're doing live events, but they don't look anything like what they did pre-pandemic. But just watching stuff like on YouTube last night, I'm like, oh, look at this band that's playing live at some party, and it looks so fun. And I miss that energy and just having a good time and getting to meet new people and all that kind of thing. And then it's like, well, we'll get back to it at some point, but in the meantime, watch this on YouTube, kind of a thing. But if there's anything else you can do if you're trying to be safe, and I don't want to be responsible for killing anybody out there right now. So that's the last thing I want. So we just do what we can, and then we kind of move forward. And let's see, it's the vibe that's missing. Yeah. So we'll get back to it at some point, hopefully soon.
Yeah. I mean, I did used to go early to shows just because I wouldn't be able to see anything if I came in late.
Want to get out? Oh yeah.
Never have a view, no matter what show I go to.
I wouldn't want to be the tall people though, because I would feel bad all the time. I feel like it was my responsibility to stand behind everyone.
No, like I feel like there's some tall people that are very nice about it, right? Like they're very conscious about it. They stay in one spot, which is good. So you can always, but if they're like moving back and forth, or if they're just like doing a side thing where like they're just blocking everyone's views. Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah. And they're just standing right in front of you no matter where you look.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you do this? How? Your head is everywhere.
This actually came up last Friday, and because one of the guests is 6 foot tall, and then the other one's like 5'1.5", and then I'm 5'5" myself. And I was telling them that I was at this show at one of the clubs here in Seattle, and this guy on the back of his T-shirt said, "I'm so sorry," because he was like 6'8". It was like the best shirt. Obviously, he understood that he's blocking many people's view because he's so freaking tall. And then that's what we were saying to the gal that's 6 foot. I said, "Hey, you need to get one of those shirts when you go to concerts."
Oh my God, that's amazing! I love that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I cannot wait to see my favorite groups again in person. Yeah, here to that. I make sure I stand behind the shorter ones, or I make sure I'm not in the way. I always ask if to see. That's
Very courteous.
It's very courteous, and I wish more people were like that. I'm kind of like, I don't know if I should be telling this story, but I do remember I was seeing an AC/DC tribute band at what is now called Mopop, but it used to be called the EMP here at the Seattle Center. It's the Paul Allen, the thing that has all the museum stuff and all these other kind of themed basic things, but they have the Sky Church there, and they have concerts. And I am not a physical person. I'm not a fighter. I'm not one of those kind of people. I don't look for that kind of stuff at all. I just kind of keep to myself, and then I try to be nice. That's kind of my deal. But you catch me on the wrong day, on the wrong time, then this other little piece of me comes out, and I don't necessarily like that piece of me, but it is there, and I recognize it. But so we're there watching this show. My brother and his wife were somewhere standing away from me. I got closer to the stage, and then probably like 2/3 of the way through the show, this tall guy got right in front of me, and there's like all these other areas for him to stand, but he stood right in front of me.
Oh.
And I was in one of those moods where I actually took him and shoved him off to the side.
Oh.
And then he got in my face, and we kind of had some words about some stuff. And I was ready to actually throw down with that guy. He would have kicked my ass because he was
Mark.
Yeah, I know. This is this other side of me. And
You're like fed up.
Yeah.
That dude kept saying, "Where's the line drawn? Where's the line drawn?" Meaning, like, where could he stand? Where could he not stand? I'm like, dude, you could have stood anywhere else. We're almost done with the show, and you stand right in the fucking front of me. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to yell at each other basically over the the band. And we actually got, I don't know if this is like a dude thing or whatever. We got to a point where we shook hands and just like punched each other on the shoulder, and we were done with it. So it never came to blows. But I was just pissed. It's like, God damn it, I can't see the fucking band. And now you stand right in front of me. And again, most of the time I would have just physically moved myself so I could see. But wrong day, wrong time.
Wow.
I'm glad it ended in some manly understanding.
It did. We're cool with it. We got past it. But the thing is that it really wasn't his issue. It was my issue, because he's not doing anything wrong. He's just moving around trying to get a better view for himself, probably. And I could have took 2 steps over to the right, and I could have saw the band again. But I'm like, fuck it. Let's see. Industrial Girls talking about that Static X show, and a guy's elbow was digging into my boob. I told him he was hurting me, and he pushed me to the ground. Oh shit! I punched him in the head, and then security threw him out. Well, that's good. The security who had the issue.
Wow.
A lot of times, at least depending on the clubs around here, they'll grab both of you and throw both of you out, because they won't know who started it.
Right.
But
it makes sense. But
so much douchebaggery that goes on sometimes at these shows, and I've gotten to know, being on the media side, that some of the clubs around here, since they know me now, they'll just let me in, so you get to know the security guards and the head of people and all that kind of stuff. And it's just amazing the kind of BS they got to put up with. I mean, I would see it as a fan, but when we hear it from them directly, like night after night, the kind of stuff they put up with, it, well, no wonder they act the way they do. Like, they just don't have any tolerance. Like, as soon as they see something, bang, there's no warning. You're just out. Because of the kind of garbage they've dealt with for years. And I got a new respect for a lot of those guys, because then they would protect people like me that are trying to take pictures and trying to do our things. And again, I'm not tall.
And not shoving anybody.
Yeah. I'm
not shoving anybody.
Don't worry, guys. I'm in a good mood today. I'm not going to shove anyone. So. I'm not going to hit him with my camera bag. It's all right. But that was a rarity. I can't even really think the last time I got that upset about something stupid. But that was many years ago. I don't even know if my brother and sister-in-law remember that, but they were definitely there further behind me. Probably kind of like, what's going on over there? Oh, my goodness. But let's see here. Oh, okay. I didn't ask this question last week, and I don't really know if I have an answer. What takes up too much of your time?
Oh. I think reading worthless social media posts. That takes up way too much of my time. Or like, being on Reddit or something like that. Like I tried not to look at it as much just because it's a time sink no matter what. And sometimes it could just be a black hole of, you're not even enjoying it. You're just reading just to read, right? That's definitely, I think, the time sink for a lot of people nowadays. Yeah,
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I would say worry.
Oh,
I worry all the time. I need to stop worrying. I worry about everything.
So much easier said than done, right?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Stop worrying sometimes. It's just like, I'll stop worrying about one thing, and then it's like, I'll start worrying about something else. Something else to worry about. It's like, just stop.
Like, I don't know if that's like a taught thing to anyone, like anywhere, where when someone tells you to relax, you never relax, right? It has the opposite effect.
No, so, like, why should I relax? Is there something going on? Like,
yeah.
Do I need to relax? Like, prepared?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there are ways to meditate and just to chill out, but it differs from every single person. So I think it is hard to teach, but it's not like given any kind of emphasis no matter what in this kind of day and age. Yeah.
You mean as far as like ways to train your mind better?
Yeah, ways to cope, ways to just be controlling of the situation, like of your own emotions, like to not just lash out. I guess that's kind of the bigger things. I think I remember growing up and a lot of kids having a lot of anger management issues that the teachers wouldn't actually help with. They would just say, "Oh, you're a problem child," and that's it. And they were never taught how to cope. I think, Mark, you have a lot of experience with this as well. So, like, I feel, yeah.
And the sad thing is, in most of those situations, a lot of times the family is kind of where that's coming from. So they're not going to get the support with the family either.
Yeah.
So the teachers are like, "Oh, this kid's just bad," and then the parents are doing whatever it is that the kid's reacting to.
Yeah.
No, like John said, I mean, I could talk for hours about students and behavior and the parents or the grandparents or whoever they're living with and that type of thing. I just for myself personally, I go all the way back to, I want to say it was probably third grade. So with me being named Mark, we had another Mark in our class. So we always went by, I was Mark S and he was Mark, whatever his last name was, his last initial. And he was a troublemaker. He was a kid that, for whatever reason, couldn't sit still, couldn't pay attention. Maybe he had ADHD back then before they had a term for it. I don't know. This is back in the 70s, early 80s. And I still remember, and I mean, I don't know how this teacher got away with this, and he probably would have been fired if not that, charges brought up on him. But he put the other Mark, outside in the hallway on a chair. That was like his timeout thing. So I was like, okay, well, that kind of happens. Other students had to do that. But where he took it another step was that student took a golf ball and hucked it through the hallway so you could hear it bouncing around off the walls. And we had like a concrete walls there. Yeah. The teacher heard that, and it was Mr. I won't say his name, but it was a Mr. and he went out there and he had a roll of duct tape, and he actually duct taped Mark's mouth shut, and he had duct taped him to the chair so he couldn't move. Oh, and I mean, there's no freaking way you could do something like that nowadays. I mean, you'd have a lawsuit on your ass so quick. But I still remember back then, because we're all, as kids, we're trying to look through the little peephole in the door and all that kind of stuff out of the classroom to see what's he doing out there. And I got a real straight shot of him taping him like that. I felt so
Wow.
bad. I felt so bad for him.
Jeez.
It's like, yeah, he shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, he's completely in the wrong for throwing a golf ball through the, the corridor. But do you need to do that? Is that actually okay? This is me being a third grader thinking about those kind of things. And
Oh
I
my
know,
God.
yeah, all these years later as a teacher, that the horror stories, and again, I won't go into all that kind of stuff because we're trying to have fun. But some of the things that I had to deal with through students, through their parents, how many times I had to call CPS. It was just unreal that people would do this kind of things to these basically children. They're 12, 13, 14, and
It's
so
sad.
it is, and it's something that's always stuck with me. That when I started working, I actually worked on the other side of things. So when I wasn't a teacher, at one point I was working as an educational advocate, and what that means is that I was working exclusively with foster care children. So I would go to their respective districts to make sure they got the programming that they were entitled to by the law. So I was on the other side of it. So on one hand, I used to be a teacher, and I understand, being in a school district dynamic and all that kind of crap. And then I went on the other side of it, saying, why aren't you doing these things for this child? And so I got to see both sides of it. And so anytime districts would try to pull the whole, we didn't know, and we're too busy, we don't have the resources. And I'm like, I used to do what you do. I was a teacher, and they would never know this kind of stuff until I told them.
Wow.
So I'm like, let's get past the bullshit. You can't use that on me. And here's what the law says. The law is always on my side. So let's try to work towards a common goal, which is to help this child. And if we can do that, then everything's great. But if you choose to play dumb, if you choose to make it difficult for me, I'm going to make it difficult for you. And in the end, I'm going to win because the law is on my side. So what do you want to do? Most districts would comply. They would work with me. They would do everything we need to do. Hey, great. I'm in and out in a couple of days. But there's one district, which I won't mention here because I'm not trying to incriminate myself. But they're located up north. And they went 15 rounds with me over this child's education.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how many meetings I had there with all their upper echelon people and all this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, I got what I wanted. And then so you would think, okay, great, no problem. I still remember this. It was like a nightmare of a case. It took me like a month to finally get what was legally entitled to this student. About 2 days later, through my email, I said, hey, Mark, here's a new student for your caseload. I looked at the name, then I looked at the district, and I'm like, oh, shit. It's the same district. So then, part of me was thinking, okay, well, we just went 15 rounds, so maybe they understand where I'm coming from and that I'm not going to back down. So let's kind of just, make this quick, right? And they went they had like amnesia. They went all the way back to square one with me, like they didn't even know we had done anything. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So we just went through these things with this other student, and now you want me to go through it again with this other student?
That's crazy.
And it's just like, yeah, you just want to tear your hair out, and you want to punch somebody, all that kind of thing. And but then I just like kind of go through the same things. So look, we just went through this. You know how that ended? I got what I wanted for this child. I'm going to get what I want for this child. So if you're going to take the long way around, then let's go 15 rounds because I got enough energy to take you again. And that's also why I left that job. I've seen some really bad. And again, that's one of maybe 2 districts that were really bad. Most of them were in the middle or really good. So I don't want to disparage a lot of the districts here in Washington State. But there's a couple of them out there that they will do anything they can just to make it easy for them. They don't care about the student.
Right.
And that's a horrible thing to say, but it's true. I've seen it with my own eyes. So I see some people are saying, I worked with kids for 10 years. Okay, I had to call CPS many times. What the frack?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's consensus.
Where is the chat, by the way? Is that on YouTube?
It's coming through StreamYard to me, so it doesn't. It'll actually show you.
There's a comment on the right side. Yeah.
There you guys are.
And it'll have the little emblem. So if they're commenting from Twitch, from YouTube, or from Facebook, so
So cool.
Yeah. So you can see most of the people are on Twitch right now.
So cool. Yeah, Twitch and YouTube and.
Yeah. So. My hat's off to anybody that's in education that has managed to, do what they love and trying to do what they can for students, the students' best interest, because the system will beat you down, and I know all about it. But
Nicole's mind is blown.
yeah, so this whole chat's been going on, and it's I'm trying to do a better job of interacting with the chat, because I think the first couple of times I just didn't say anything or didn't notice anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, this is terrible. Yeah. So
Nice.
if anyone ever wants to ask me about my background working with children from K through 12, you better block out a week.
Yeah, thanks for telling us, Mark. That's some heavy shit. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Industrial Girl was talking about my mom was a special ed teacher for 28 years. She had to fight for her kids a lot. Absolutely. I was a special ed teacher too. Not nearly as long as your mom, but the system is really broken. That's probably the best thing I could say about it. And I say best thing I could say about it. I could see things a lot worse about it. And so you have people within that system doing the best they can. Their heart's in the right place, their mind's in the right place. They're really trying to do everything they can. But then that system will sit there and try to pick away at them. And that's why you see people leave education. They don't stay 30 years and retire. They start to, that's the older generation. The newer generation, for special education, it used to be burnout of 5 years. That's when you would leave. So, but yeah, I don't want to spend the whole 2 weeks or whatever talking about my background. But again, if you want to talk to me offline, you want to ask me questions, I'm more than happy to talk about it, because I just did right now. So I think it's interesting to me. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just me in my own mind, but I think by doing these interviews with Alice and doing the interviews, a little bit on my own also, that if people watch most of them, I'm kind of curious about what have they formulated about me, because they've heard certain things come through the chat and through the interviews. And Marco mentioned, he was a teacher at one point. Oh, he plays guitar. Oh, he does photography. Oh,
that's why you need an interview, Mark.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. I guess
big old interview.
I guess so.
Red background.
I have to. I have to be in the hot seat. And well, there we go. Captain Blacklist says I formulated that Mark is awesome. So hey, I appreciate that.
Agreed. Toast to Mark. Toast to Mark.
Yay.
To Mark.
I can definitely say too that with the Alice fans that are here, and also the Alice fans that couldn't be here, that I've met through the chats and the tour, that they're such really good people.
Definitely.
And I want to obviously associate myself with as many good people as I can. And I think a reverse interview where Alice interviews Mark would be hilarious. Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully Alice TV and anyone else is still watching this. But if they are, you know what?
It actually would be really funny.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Maybe that's what's going to happen when they talk about interviewing me live, is that the band will sit there and start firing shit at me. I don't know.
Yeah. Ask you what superhero you want to be.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe come October, we'll see what happens. Okay, let's go to another question like somebody asked. Let's kind of move on to another topic that's not so serious. Oh, God, this is weird. That's a terrible question. Well, shit, I'll ask it anyways. What age do you wish you could permanently be?
Okay, we need to define.
Okay.
Are we talking about okay, so with the knowledge and the way you are now, but just revert your physical age, or your mental age and all of it that went with it during that age?
That's a great question.
That is a great question, and it doesn't say. I don't know. So, I would say with the knowledge that you have amassed now, because that makes it so much tougher to pick an age.
Okay, with the knowledge that you've amassed now.
Yeah, get one of them for the fun table round. Just to leak something else. Somebody might be coming to join one of the future fun tables, but I'm not going to say anything more than that. But yeah, what age? That's hard because I just turned 50, so I know I don't want to be 50.
Yeah, feel ya.
I feel like, I don't know. I always consider myself like a dumbass, at a younger age, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing? But from a physical standpoint, I feel the decline. So maybe a few years younger, where I'm not such a dumbass, but not like feeling as bad physically. Yeah, probably 30-ish, I think. Yeah.
Maybe probably around 30-ish for me. Although I'd like, if I can keep like who I am now, because there's, I've changed a lot since then. So
Definitely.
Okay. I see Industrial Girl saying 25 physically, intelligence of now. Captain Blackwood's talking about easy 25 to 27-ish.
Yeah.
Um,
I would only say 31 because I had the coolest hair before I joined the military. And so like that was like the epitome of like I was happy with like my body and I was happy with my hair. I just wasn't happy about anything else. So like I'm much happier with everything else now, but I just have to like have military. This is not my real hair. So
what was your hairstyle before?
It was bright red, and then I went bright pink. So one of those colors, those were great.
Nice.
I really like that. Yeah. Like, and it glowed in the dark. It was a hair dye that glowed in the dark. So it was like really bright.
Did that ever bother you when you were like sleeping at all?
Oh, I'm sorry. It didn't glow in the dark. It was black light. Wow.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Black light. Same difference.
I think I'm kind of around what John was saying. I only think back to like when I turned 30. For some people that's kind of a big deal, and to me it wasn't a big deal at all. I had a really good time when I turned 30. A really good friend of mine and his good buddy, we went over to a place that's within walking distance from where I still live now in Edmonds, and we closed the bar down. And I remember we stumbled back to my place, so we were being smart about it. Nobody drove anywhere, but we just had a good time. And I remember I was completely hungover. I've discovered that my bushes are really, really sturdy because I fell into them and I bounced right back off. I was like, oh, okay. When I turned 40, that was a little different. It kind of became like, okay, now you're kind of middle-aged, depending on how long people in your family tend to live. And mine tend to live in the 80s. So it's like, you're kind of getting to that halfway point. And then when I turned 50, it was like, I don't really know how I thought about it. When I look back on it, it wasn't that long ago. It was 2 months ago, but
back in the day.
Yeah, it was like I've told the band and told everybody out there that was watching on the Alice tour that I will always remember what I was doing before I turned 50 because I was on the tour with Alice and doing all these kind of interviews and things that were new to me in terms of virtual stuff. But it was like, I don't know, it wasn't real good. It was just kind of, well, you're 50 now, to move on and figure things out. But I also kind of look at it like there's no excuses. You can't say, well, I'm 21, I didn't know any better. I'm 30, I'm still figuring shit out. It's like, no, you're 50. It comes up pretty lame if you haven't figured out, most things at this point. Not everything, but most things. And let's see, what is this laughing my ass off Mark for the win?
Definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm human like everybody else. We've all gone through different ages and phases and stupid shit that we've done.
God, right? Oh, that makes me feel better. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's like what Nicole said earlier. This is what helps build you and makes you where you are now. If I had not done those things, I don't know what I would be like now. Yeah, I really don't. So, and life is strange that way. That you end up doing things kind of come your way that you weren't expecting, and during a freaking pandemic. I mean, again, I can keep going back to Alice, but it really is kind of that thing because my mind was so much like, I'm just kind of trying to get by day to day. I don't know what I'm going to do artistically. And then this opportunity came, and everyone knows this if they read, my report and all that kind of stuff, that initially I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. One of my favorite bands is asking me to go on tour with them, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Let me think about this. Yeah, and I look back at myself and I'm like, what's wrong with you? But I have to remember that I was in such a kind of a, not the best of places mentally because of what's going on with the pandemic, and I'd been sick for 6 weeks prior.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Yeah, see, some people know or don't know that
You got the corona?
they wouldn't test me because my breathing was okay at that point. They just told me if my breathing got bad, then I would have to go to the hospital, do all the protocols, stay in your car, all this kind of shit. But yeah, it was a long period of me. I've never been that sick for that long, so I pretty much assumed that I had it. So then coming out of that and then trying to get my bearings and everything, and then it's like, hey, you want to go on tour? It's like, what? But it was one of the best things obviously ever that I did, and then from there it turned into the interim shows and turned into the second leg, and then now I'm still doing other things. So I know I never would have thought to myself sitting on my couch, maybe I should do virtual interviews, maybe I should do that. I never would have thought about that ever. I would have just put in another movie and just started watching something. And I never would have been a film reviewer either. That happened during the pandemic too.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can tell a short story, but the story behind that is that there is a film called Compound Fracture that came out in 2013, which I loved. It was just a small independent thriller. And then that company was making another one, a follow-up called Penance Lane. And then I figured, well, give them a couple of years, it's movie making and all that kind of thing. And then it just disappeared. I never heard anything about it. And then this year, during the pandemic, I saw something on social media that said, hey, being released on video on demand on whatever date, like in April. And I'm like, oh shit, they actually got that movie made. So
nice.
I reached out to the people. I explained to them what I've been doing in the interim, which is a lot considering it's been 7 years. And I said, I would love to review this movie. And then through talking to those people, they got me to the right publicist. And then she sent me the screener link and I watched it and I reviewed it. And then a different actor in the film saw my review. He had directed something a year prior, in 2018. So he said, hey, would you be interested in reviewing this?
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, oh, sure. Okay. So I'll review this. And then I found out that both of those films came from the same company, distribution company. So I reached out to them and said, hey, I just reviewed this film and this film. Do you have anything else? And I said, oh, yeah, we can just put you on the press list. So it all happened really organically.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then that turned into, getting this one, and then Lionsgate, and then Magnolia, and IFC, and all these other ones.
Wow.
It just really, I couldn't have predicted that at all. Because
that's crazy.
Yeah, I was not.
There was a need and you filled it. You were right there. Well, they say it's not luck, it's when opportunity and preparation meet.
Yes. Yeah, had I not been doing reviews of the opera or the ballet or theater, they probably would have thought twice about trying to credential somebody like me to review these advanced films because, what do you have to show for yourself? I have photography and I have concert reviews, which is one thing, but nothing as specific as what they were looking for. And so I got just completely lucky that they're doing that. And then it becomes that whole case, and you guys know this, that once you get the opportunity, then what are you going to do with it?
Right.
So that means you better give your A game, you better give it everything you got, and then you can continue to maintain those relationships and hopefully build them. And that's how I've gone to, I think it's maybe about almost a dozen companies I write for now.
Wow, that's great.
So, but yeah, I'm really lucky. I'm trying to make sure I'm looking at these comments here. Pretty much saved my sanity with their virtual tour. Yeah, Industrial Girl, I'm right there with you. I mean, that tour did so much more than just being a tour. Being with Alice and being with all of you, and it has brought me out of a place that wasn't the best place. And then once I got past the first leg, then I kind of felt like I was Mark again. And that's what I kind of liked. And I think even if you look back on the YouTube channel, and I'm not trying to promote myself, but if you look back, you can kind of see those interviews in July and the ones in the second leg were very different than that first leg where I was oh my gosh, I have to make sure I get everything right. And I was just kind of freaking myself out that once I got past that, then the regular Mark came out. And give your A game, just make sure you're having fun. Absolutely. You got to do both. Because if you don't like it, then why do it? So, all right, let's see here. And Nicole, I can't remember if I asked this question, but I just personally like it. So I'm going to ask it again. And we'll kind of go there. If I were to summon you via black magic, what 5 items would I need to conjure you in the 5 corners of the pentagram?
I want to feel like I feel like we should try to remember what Christiana's were and compare them with John's. I don't remember what.
I don't remember what Christina told me. She said, but mine is not going to be anything similar. Probably like guitar picks because I always put them in my pocket. Like I always need them in my pocket for some reason. I keep losing them and I keep refilling them. And then so like they're everywhere around the house. Guitar picks, beer, probably just beer. Like a beer tab or something, you know. What's a geeky computer thing? Maybe just the computer.
Full computer. You need to build
to put a laptop there. Yeah. Let's see. Something. Coffee too. Everything's just like
Coffee.
Related to drinks. Yeah, I drink a lot of coffee, and yeah, I'm just not a morning person in general, so I think that would be a big of it. Probably something related with my family, since I am pretty close with them. But probably what is symbolic of my family. Maybe a folding chair, just because every time it sounds like a wrestling move or something, but like, every time we have a family party, there's like we have so many people in my family. There's like 50 of them usually for every gathering. So everyone has
get out the folding chairs.
You always have to have a folding chair or something like that, right? Because there's not enough seating no matter where we go. How many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's about 5. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good. That's really good.
That's really great. I don't remember what mine was.
You have a new set.
Yeah, they could be new sets that's going to bring you out from wherever you are.
Yeah, I guess I think that maybe a Schirmer Lucia de Lammermoor score, opera score, guitar strings, maybe some fake hair. Some coconut like perfume, and a parrot feather.
A parrot feather.
I have a parrot. I'm a parrot person.
That's awesome.
Yeah, got a baby bird.
What's your parrot's name?
Spanky. He's a sun conure. He's super cute.
Oh, how old do parrots get? I have no idea.
Depends on the species. Spanky will be 20. Well, if he survives, if he can live up to 25, 30 years old.
Wow.
Some of the bigger parrots, like African greys or cockatoos, macaws, can live up to 60.
Wow.
They oftentimes outlive their owners, and it's very sad because they have to get rehomed, and parrots get really parrots mate for life, so they get really bonded to usually just one person, and also they have a flock mentality. So not only are they pair bonded with one person, they flock mate, or they flock like attached to the family that they live with. So it's really sad to see them get pulled away from that, because it's just it's like breaks them.
Oh no.
But Spanky's good. Spanky is, he's good. He's a good bird.
Wow, I had no idea. Thanks for sharing that. That means like you're making a commitment beyond possibly even the one you might have with another human. If you're married. That's serious. Don't go into that lightly.
I love it. It's like a screaming for life. A screaming, shitting, pellet throwing, biting, flying on your face, mate for life. It's great.
Same thing, right?
Yeah, same thing. Marriage.
Oh man, let's see. Industrial Girl says a heart vinyl, cheese popcorn, Jameson, American Mary on DVD. Oh, the Solska twins, and a picture of Vincent, and a picture of Vincent Price. Nice. Okay.
That is a nice little selection.
Yeah.
I can smell that. It smells good.
Well, I've answered this at least twice, maybe 3 times now. So I know my first corner will never change. I always say the same thing, that you need to drop a little bit of your own blood. So just on your finger, nothing major, just a little prick and a little drop of blood. That'll help bring me out. The other 4 things, I always default to a guitar thing. So maybe I should, well, that's the only instrument that I still play. So I'll say a guitar string. And so that's 2. And then third one, see, I keep saying the same thing. A pen, because that represents my writing. So that would be 3. Fourth thing, yeah, I would say like a really good dark beer, like a stout or a porter of some type. And then the last thing, I always pick food. I like salty junk food. So if you have a bag of some sort of chip and I hear that bag opening up, I'm coming out. I'm going to hear, just like your pets hear, your dog or your cat, or as soon as they hear that ruffling around, that's going to me. I'll just come out of the abyss. Here I am. What kind of chips are those? And Guinness makes a good stout. I love me some Soska Sisters. Industrial Girl, I met them in 2014. I know there's a little bit of controversy or something with them recently. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but they were super nice when I met them. And I mean, they couldn't have been nicer actually when I met them in 2014. So I don't really know what the controversy is about, but there's some kind of, there's always drama on social media. I just try to avoid it. So let's move on to the next thing. Let's see here. How are we doing on time? Because it just went to 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And so
It kind of flew by.
John's over here, but Nicole, you're on the East Coast, so it's actually more about you.
Yeah, it's 12 a.m. Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Cool. Then we keep going. Let's find another question that I have not asked. Oh God. What? Okay. I don't know if we're going to actually answer this or not, but when you do number 2 with me, number 2 in the bathroom, do you drop your pants around your ankles or take them all the way off? And you can plead the 5th. You don't have to answer this, but this is something I put an asterisk by it because I've never asked it. So now I know why I haven't asked it. Once I said it out loud.
So
everybody poops.
all right, so I'll just answer it. Like around my ankles. I really want to find someone who just like takes it all off. Where do they put it? They just leave it on the floor? Are they hanging it up somewhere?
I actually sometimes will take it all off.
Oh.
I like freedom. I'll fling it with my foot. I don't want it to be restricted.
Interesting.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I see Captain Blackwood. You said it's better than the first question on round 1. You know what's funny? I don't remember what I asked. Can you put it in the chat? What did I ask? Nicole is right. Sometimes you got to get comfortable. That's true.
Yeah.
It'll be there for a while sometimes, you know. You just might as well.
Yeah, I'm both, depending on what's going on. Sometimes it's completely off so that my legs are free, and other times it's down around my ankles. It kind of depends. And that's when I'm at home. You know, I try not to do number 2 in public places because I'm kind of grossed out by that stuff in terms of germs and stuff.
Yeah.
If I have to do it, then I'll do it. But I really try to get home and do it where I kind of know a controlled environment.
It's funny because I think one of our beagles is poo shy. So she likes just going around our house. And then when we take her out somewhere, whatever, she's like, nope, holding it in.
Poor baby.
I know.
Oh.
But she's better now. She's just sleeping on the couch over there.
Oh, really? What are your beagles' names?
Oh, Luca and Zora. So they're both girls. Yeah. Named after video game characters. It's nerdy.
Cool. I love that. Love it. Love it.
Oh.
What the hell is with demons for what?
Yeah. So
What is that?
thanks, Captain So he was answering my question because I couldn't remember what the first question was on the first round of the fun table session. This is what the hell is with demon sperm? That was in the news at that point.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I threw that out
Oh!
there. Yeah, and like Mariah and Anissa and Christiana were kind of like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
What did you sign on to?
Yeah. So no, you're right. That was an awful first question, especially since nobody else knew. And but now we kind of know in terms of ankles and off in terms of number 2.
And it's a power move of the first question, and this is a power move too.
Yeah. And
I feel like we're bonding for life now.
and Industrial Girl. That's right. Their deal with the Sauska twins was their Twitter thing with Rabbit. There was some controversy about how they're promoting that, but hey, we all 3 of us answered that question, so that's pretty cool. No one pleaded the fifth.
Authenticity.
It's all authenticity. Number 2 in art, same realm.
Go hand in hand.
I got blindsided by that, but laughed my ass off when I answered the Demon's question. That's great. Okay, so this is a question I asked last week, and so I asked this one. What breakfast cereal has influenced your life the most?
Oh.
Breakfast cereal.
Oh,
the real
well,
question.
we're going with the number 2 theme here. I remember when I went to boarding school, and I remember I had some issues with that. And I was the only person that was allowed to eat. What is that cereal that helps you go? Not Kellogg's. Bran.
Bran.
Yeah.
It's Bran.
You have to eat like the gross food, but I got like the special Bran cereal.
That reminds me of that SNL skit. Remember the old one? Colon blow.
Or Chipotle away.
Oh
god. Grape nuts. Is it grape nuts? I think that's where we'll add it. Yeah. It was something that tasted really good.
I remember my first bowl of grape nuts, and it would just never go away. It would keep soaking in more milk. And like the bowl would stay at the same level every time. I'd probably just say Cinnamon Toast Crunch, maybe, because I love horchata too. Like the first time I had that, I was like, this is just Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and I'm gonna drink the milk. But besides that, that was like one of my favorite cereals. Nothing else that's influencing my life so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see Industrial Girl talked about Captain Crunch. That was one of my favorites growing up as a kid. In the red box, not the one with the berries and all the other stuff. I just like the regular one.
Mm-hmm.
But I know last week when I mentioned that my cousin was in the chat, and I was talking about that in the summertime. Our families used to come together, and we would go up to Orcas Island, which is in the San Juan Islands, north of Seattle. And so he was there, and we'd always get these those mixed packages of Kellogg's, those little boxes. And so I could have like corn pops and whatever else kind of stuff. And they always had, and they always had Special K in there. That was the one that none of the kids ever wanted because that was the non-sugared one.
No sugar.
Yeah. So I always think back about that. I remember eating Cocoa Puffs and basically all the sugary things. I never ate Lucky Charms. My mom never bought that. And Frosted Flakes I used to eat. I remember that. Tony the Tiger. That actually became, and John might kind of remember this. So the first music duo I did in the end of 2012 was called Tipsy and the Tiger. And it actually came from Tony and the Tiger, but we just kind of twisted it around and have an alcohol influence on it. Yeah, that's actually where that came from was, they're great. That whole thing. I don't know if we were great. The only non-sugar one I ate was Kix. You know what's funny, Industrial Girl? I have a box of Kix sitting in my kitchen right now.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's not a common one.
Yeah, I bought it because it was on sale. And sometimes I need something to eat later at night, and instead of eating like other junk food, I eat that. But
I used to eat a ton of cereal. I don't eat that much cereal anymore, like as an adult, which makes me kind of sad, actually.
Go get some cereal.
Yeah, I gotta go get it. Yeah.
Gotta go get it.
That brand.
That brand.
Then we can be spending our time in the bathroom.
In number 2, yeah.
Yeah. And then you'll be thinking about, do I take my pants off or I'd leave them?
Oh my gosh, what have you done to us?
You're influencing my life decisions now.
I always fall back to Cheerios. Yeah, it's true. I eat Cheerios still. I still eat cereal for dinner. That's the best. Okay. Yeah. It kind of fits that bill. Like maybe if you don't feel like certain things, it's just kind of there, so you can just kind of have it. That's the way I look at it. Let's see here. Let's go back up to those other new ones. Well, they're kind of weird. So I don't know. No, I'm not going to mention where I get some of these questions from because it's taken me a long time. This is number 6. So, trying to find new things that aren't like the typical when you have an icebreaker meeting, with business associates, what do you ask?
Oh, gosh.
I have to dig pretty deep to find some things that are at least somewhat interesting. And yeah, they're probably on sites you would never guess.
Just imagine an icebreaker. How do you go number 2? What's your name? Where you're from? And you take your pants off.
America. Just get straight to the point. Cut the crap. Answer this question.
Good one. Nice.
Yep. I see what you did there. Okay, this one's not too weird, but it might be hard to answer. Name one memory you keep going back to.
Yeah. I keep remembering lots of things. Like it was hard to move away. It was hard to move across the country. So I remember, a lot about LA and all my friends and all the things I was doing. And even though, I'm much more situated now, and I miss that a lot. So I do think about all the things I used to do, like my burlesque troupe and the metal bands I was in, and my opera company. I had a bunch of stuff going on. I think about that a lot. And the people. I think about the people.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of similar. I've actually lived in Seattle for my whole life. But like some of my most memorable memories that I always look back on are when I traveled to like new places for the first time. So like I went to Vietnam when I was 17, and I always remember that just because it was just so drastically different from what it's like here. And I actually hear it's developed so much within the past, 15 years, where it's just different from what I even remember it as. So I just remember that being just a cool trip of just like getting outside of my normal headspace. But I feel like if I did move somewhere else, like you did, I'd probably think fondly back at home as well, right? So yeah.
Hard not to. Wow, that's crazy. That's so cool. It's so cool you got to go.
Yeah. I'd recommend traveling if you could.
Well, yeah, I know. Not for a while.
Mm-hmm.
When I fell over a sign in the middle of the mall in front of the food court during lunchtime. I'm just reading the stuff in the chat.
Those invasive, embarrassing moments.
Yeah, that too.
Always at the worst times. Yeah.
I remember my first band interview ever. Who was the band, Industrial Girl? I can't just pick one and not sound like a goober. Yeah, I mean, as she's answering that, for me, yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I remember I think it was the first time I went to California with my family, going to Disneyland and SeaWorld and San Diego, that whole bit. We went with another family. The Distillers in 2003. Okay, nice. All right. I remember the first band that I interviewed in person, video-wise. If I had to go back to like the very, very first, like a written interview, I don't know if I remember who that band was. I'd have to think about it. But yeah, I remember going down to California. So kind of like what John was talking about with the travel thing. And I am not well traveled at all. I'm pretty much a homebody around here in the Seattle area. but I do remember going down to Vegas for the first time and how much I enjoyed it. And it was just so much, everyone, you kind of have certain ideas in your head of what's going to be like, but when you're actually there, it's even like bigger than, and Captain Blackwood lives there, so he knows. It actually might be really different living there every day, being around that versus being a visitor to it. But I remember I just enjoyed myself. And actually, every time I've gone to Vegas, I've enjoyed myself. But it's one of those things that, to me, at least as a visitor, I can only do like a long weekend, because otherwise you're coming home in a body bag.
Oh.
Because of the kind of stuff, there's just so much excess. There's just nothing but excess there. Yeah. And I'm not really good at controlling myself sometimes. So let's see. I think probably something else that comes to mind off the top of my head would be, I remember my not the first day, but the first year of teaching. What a life-changing experience, a growth time. All the things you had learned in college, did it apply? Some of it did. Some of it they never taught you in college about how to deal with this type of situation with a kid. But it really propelled me into my second year. My second year was so much better because of what I learned the first year. And they couldn't have set me up in a worse situation my first year of teaching, because I got hired late. So I think it wasn't even a week before school started. And so the previous teacher was still in our building, but she had switched departments. So she was no longer special education. She was doing some sort of English. She was teaching English. So I had asked her, it's like, so can you kind of get me situated? Like, where's the curriculum? Where's the IEPs, which is the special education paperwork, all that kind of thing. And she was on maternity leave the year before for like a good chunk of it. So she didn't know. They had a long-term sub. And so long story short, I had nothing. I was supposed to teach English, math, and study skills, and I had no curriculum. The paperwork for each of my students that were coming in, that were existing or coming up from 6th grade into 7th grade, there was nothing. And these are legal documents that I need to know about what I'm supposed to be teaching to. And so I remember I'm like frantic. I don't know anybody on the staff, obviously, because I'm like 23. I'm right out of college. I'm new. And so I had to talk to somebody, I think, in the front office and say, who are the department heads for English and math? So they said, well, you need to talk to so-and-so and talk to so-and-so. I'm like, do you have a picture? Because I don't know what they look like. I don't know where to find them. I don't know anything. And I remember talking to both of them. They're super nice. They took me to their storage area, got me all the books I needed, anything I could help with. And I said, I just needed something. But the biggest issue was that the paperwork. So I had to call down to the district office and say, look, I don't have anything in the files here. I've got nothing. So, well, Mark, we'll get it to you soon. So, okay, so school starts in 3 days. What am I supposed to do until then? Well, just do the best that you can. Huh? So I was thrown into the fire, into the deep end in the worst way. But at the same time, I had to have a lot of resolve. It made me try to figure things out. And luckily, I managed to get through the first month. And then I still remember this. I was in the copy room where all the teachers make copies, and they use the paper cutter to do all their other projects and stuff. And there was a box over in the corner, and I'm like, I don't know why I looked at that box, but I happened to look at it and didn't have my name or anything on it. But I'm like, I wonder if there's some extra paper in here for the copy machine or something. It was all the paperwork that came over the summer for me.
Oh,
it was all just sitting in there. Yeah. So at some point they got it and they just left it there.
Oh my God. That probably told you a lot about the next whoever working there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was a distinct memory. I'm looking back. Captain Blackwood said I've been here since 2004. Started loving living here in 2013, so it took a while. That's awesome and terrible at the same time. I agree with that statement. But I can flip this around too, because my second year, parent night is always in September, and that used to always make me nervous because then you got the parents coming in to talk to you, and for regular classrooms that have 32 students, the parents just have to listen to what you have to present, and then they got to go to the next class on their kid's schedule. For special education, the classes are small, and you might have a kid for 2 or 3 periods, so the parent just stays there, so they can really start to ask you questions more in depth about the program and the child's education, all that. And my second year, I had such a turnout from the first year. The first year I had a few parents show. It wasn't a lot, but the second year, it was packed. I had all these parents showing up, and one of them actually took her lunch break to come to the parent night because her daughter kept talking about Mr. S. Mr. S. I want to meet this guy. I want to find out who this guy is. And so I'm like, here I am. I don't know if I'm going to disappoint you, but no, my daughter just keeps talking endlessly about how great you were last year, and she has you again this year. And that's what made me feel so good about what I'm doing. So it was the complete opposite of what that first year was like. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then it became, wow, I'm having some sort of impact. And the fact that the parents actually want to show up to a parent night where most of them didn't bother last year told me a lot. So it made me feel really good. So anytime you work with kids, a lot of times you don't know beyond when you're working with them, what happens. You don't see them again. They just go on to high school or go on to college or whatever. But in this case, it was good. It was good getting that feedback from the parents. My parents were so sad when my mom retired. Yeah, see, something like that. That tells you a lot. You know, that emotional impact your mom had in Industrial Girl. Let's see here. Where'd that other one go? Okay. What's the luckiest thing that's ever happened to you?
Jeez.
Or one of them, I should say. And maybe there's been a few things.
I mean, I don't believe in luck.
Okay.
So, I mean, actual luck, like I won $20 on a lottery ticket on my birthday one time. That was actual luck. But other than like, you know, my work and stuff, like I feel like I worked for that, I deserve it. But I know opportunity and preparation meet.
And then things happen. So
Things happen.
Yep. Okay. John?
This is a difficult one. I wouldn't say I have a idea of a actual lucky thing. I think I have basic luck where it's like, yeah, I was born here. I was able to go to school and go to college and get a job. Like that's my cap of luck.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of moments that had bad luck. But I think for where I am today as a person, I feel like I'm lucky for that. Yeah, but I can't think of. I remember winning a lot, like the slot machine finally for like $100, even though I've lost like
good. Yeah.
Yeah. After losing how much money before, so. But yeah, I can't think of like any standout like super lucky moments. Maybe actually there was this one time I was like following like some family members like on a trail like at the beach, and there's this like little sketchy area like near the beach that was like high above the water, and then I remember like skipping over it, and then a moment later like a rock kind of falling down the area. So if I timed it poorly, I could have just slipped and fell and just died. Wow. Yeah, so that's, I guess, luck. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, very close.
That's crazy. Yeah, close calls like that. I mean, I guess sometimes we're lucky all the time, just to not like fall and break ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I got out of bed today. I'm lucky I haven't had Corona yet.
Ugh. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like we're all gonna get it, but
like at some point, and that's what the bell curve is kind of supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Not just up.
Right. It's still up, going up, right?
Like in America, at least. I don't know what it's like here in like the Seattle area. I think it's a little bit better than it is nationally, but yeah, it's still bad. It's still bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. John, when you're talking about winning the money, I see the Industrial Girl was talking about when she went to Vegas, and Uncle won $800, Mom won $500, and she won $80 on the first bet. Doesn't like gambling. But then that last comment, or when I got stabbed and was saved by my Levi jacket, that's pretty lucky.
Oh,
Damn. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's kind of like what John was saying about the whole luck of depending on where you were at a certain time. I know I was really, really particular when I first started to drive my car, just because of my parents were saying, yeah, don't speed, don't do anything that's going to raise our insurance rates and all that kind of stuff. So I listened to them. I never even got a parking ticket. But then in 2000, oh no, 2000, in 1994, in January, before I went back to teaching after winter break, I was in my first car accident, and it was a really bad one on the freeway. But it was completely my fault because I was going too fast. And I tried to change lanes on some wet pavement and lost control of the car and hit a guardrail and bounced off of that, and then I hit a tree.
Wow.
And the luck part comes in that I still remember this flashing through my brain was that the seatbelt was the casing around the metal was kind of chipped away from it, so I didn't really know if it was going to hold. So I just remember before I hit not the guardrail, but before I flipped around and hit the tree, I kept thinking in my head like, God, I hope this holds, because if it doesn't, I'm going through a windshield. and it did. It that held. Being dazed, I probably had a concussion and all that kind of thing. But I got out of my car. I was in the Factoria area, so there was a mall over there here in Washington, and I climbed a fence because we didn't have cell phones back then, and so I tried to get to a phone to call my parents' house to see if somebody was there. And then by the time I got a hold of my dad, I think, who was kind of like, "What happened? Is there a cop there or an ambulance or whatever?" And by the time I got back to my car, there was a state patrol car there. And he was saying, "Is this your car?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's my car." And we called a tow truck and all this other kind of business. And I remember him telling me that he was projecting out how many yards I would have flown had I not been wearing my seatbelt.
Oh.
And and I'm kind of like, "Do you need to tell me this now?"
Why?
I don't want to be hearing
Some
this.
people.
But yeah, he was kind of pointing out this direction by this patch of grass. I'm like, holy shit. So, and I think he was just trying to maybe emphasize the fact of how lucky I was that I was still in one piece. And looking back on it, I should have gone to the doctor, but I didn't.
No.
And this was on the Sunday before we went back to work. So on Monday, I remember I had headaches and all kinds of other issues, and I was at work. And I remember my instructional assistant was like, "Hey, Mark, so how was your holiday break?" And I was like, "Well, it was good until yesterday."
Right.
And it took a couple days for me to kind of feel like I was back to myself. So I definitely had a concussion of some sort, but I just, I'm 23. It's like, it's no big deal. I can deal with it. But I was definitely lucky that that seatbelt was on, one, and then two, that it held. So.
Right. So many people with seatbelt stories, just this like seatbelt saved me. The reason why you gotta wear it now.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm a believer.
I believe in the seatbelt.
Yeah.
I believe in the seatbelt.
Okay. We already asked that. We asked that too. Where's that other one? Oh, and Nicole, I can't remember if I asked this question, but if you can go back in time and pay attention to any class in high school more, which class would you pick?
I don't know, maybe my Italian class. I feel like I really could have learned more language. It would have helped me in college. Or math. Like, I feel like now that I know I can do math, I almost want to go back and be like, yeah, bitches, like, I don't suck at this. Like, I know how to do it. Or that.
Okay, so Italian or math. I can relate to the math one because I wasn't good in math, or at least I thought I wasn't good at math. And that was definitely the one that sticks out for me in high school.
I don't think they teach it well. I think there's something wrong with the way we teach math because no one is good at it.
my sister
is good at it. Okay, fine.
I mean, my family is, for the most part, like good at math, like stereotypically. But my sister has issues with it, and she has to teach her son now, right? Because of everyone is at home. So she's trying to teach her son the new way of like how to teach math. And so she texted me and it's like, hey, can you help with this math assignment? I was like, yeah, sure. It was a group thread too. It was just me and my other two brothers. So we're all like math nerds. And then she sent the homework and we're all like, what the hell is this? Like, why are they teaching it? Like, it's so unintuitive. Yeah. Like they teach it in a new different way. Where it's like, why are they phrasing it so poorly? Like
Right.
it's meant to like confuse the child. Like they have to have critical like comprehension before they can
right,
even
right. Rather than formula based and they stack each formula on it.
yeah, like
I feel like even there's a lot of issues with how they teach math, and that is really weird. Why would they do that? Why would they change it like that? That's like the wrong way of changing it.
yeah, like I can't speak to why they would do that. I just remember it being difficult for them. Yeah. Yeah, but if I should focus on something or what I would have focused on more, probably history, because a lot of it just fell out of my head after I had to learn it, and then it's just gone after that. I'm really bad with dates and everything like that, so maybe just really focusing on like when things happened and like what actually happened. But I would probably want to focus on more. I used to be really good at Spanish. Whoop, all gone. Yeah, a language would be great too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think back to history that it was always all that rote memory stuff. And so, yeah, you're not going to remember those dates. I don't remember those dates. And I took 3 years of Spanish. Don't use it, so I don't remember it.
Yeah.
My mom actually remembers more Spanish than I do. And yeah, she'll actually, like, we'll be at a Mexican restaurant. She'll look at something like she's trying to think of what the Mexican word for straw is or something. And she'll think of it. She'll actually be, she'll ask the waiter or whatever. We know a couple waiters at certain restaurants, and she'll be right. And I'm like, how do you remember that stuff? Because I should remember it because I'm like, that much younger than you. And I don't remember it. So I was only good at the rote memorization of stuff, but it wasn't practical. It didn't apply to anything. And to see, though I still can't grasp how the percentage of stuff works. That's from industrial math. Yes. Okay. I asked this question during round 4, and that's when I had Wade Murph and Mike Gruhl. So it was a bunch of guys. And I said that when I've asked, does anyone want a sex question? It's like crickets. I don't hear that. I don't hear anything. Yes, exactly. So like when Nicole just did, she's like, next. So, okay, so I'm going to move past that. I'm not going to ask that question. But let's be on the outskirts of it, which is not a sex thing. What's a surefire way to turn you on or turn you off?
Oh
yeah, you did ask this one, I think, before.
Yep.
To say, is picking your ear one? Because I got an itch. That's being totally disgusting. I think last time I said hypocrisy was like something that really turned me off.
That sounds familiar.
That's a good one. For a turnoff, I'd say stubbornness, I guess. Not stubbornness in general, but false pride. Just being too proud to, say that you don't know enough about something, or you're strong-headed in this belief. So that's it. I think that's the major turnoff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I didn't think about.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
It's hard to talk to people like that.
Yeah, just anyone, right? Like it's just hard to deal with people like that. But I guess on the opposite, someone who's very passionate too about what they do or believe in, in a more positive light, that it's kind of like the other side of the coin, which is actually more attractive, I think. It shows that they can really focus on something and really go for something that they care about as an individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see Industrial Girl saying off-putting would be spitting on the floor. But
yeah.
A turn on is a love of concerts and music. Yeah, that makes sense. I think last time for me, I had said that, I don't know if it was during Nicole and Christiana's session, but I mentioned hygiene at one point.
Yeah.
I understand that some people have medical issues and that can't be helped, but other people that don't, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone to many conventions. But like
I've heard.
I feel so embarrassed for everyone there too, and angry at them, because like don't go for the stereotype, and it's just it's bad. It can be really bad. I don't know if it's gotten better recently. Yeah.
Wow, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, I remember during our training at the one of the last places I worked, and we had a bunch of college students, and they're all gamers, so they fit into that convention crowd for the most part. And we had to go through this. Well, I shouldn't say I didn't. One of the other people on my team went through this whole part with a PowerPoint about that bubbles are good.
Yeah.
And you would think we shouldn't have to say this to college, but we did, because you'd be trying to work with them, or they're working with the kids and their families that are paying money over the summer. And they're like, oh, I'd walk into the room like, who is that? I thought maybe it would be a student or something that didn't know any better. It'd be one of our staff. And that's
what?
Yeah,
Whoa.
that's when it's like, no wonder they start going through all that stuff about bubbles or your friend and everything. That was pretty bad. But on the flip side of it, kind of like what Industrial Girl was saying, for me, and also what John said too, I really, when someone's passionate about something, and I don't care, I don't have to have an interest in it. If they love scrapbooking and they can tell me everything about scrapbooking or whatever, that I definitely take notice of that. When someone's really passionate about something, they love the garden, they love to quilt, whatever it is, that catches my attention real quick. And if you happen to be someone that loves anything related to the arts, that's definitely a bonus, because I will notice that too, because then we have something in common. And that's always, I could talk about that forever. So why don't we do one more question, because it's getting late for Nicole. It's like 9. It's 12. It's 12:36 over there. It's well past midnight. Let's do it. This is so.
I'm ready.
You know what's gonna,
I'm ready to sleep too.
Yeah, you guys, it's kind of late too there, right?
9:36.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Not that bad.
Before it used to be super early. Now.
Yeah. Right.
It's going to be interesting for folks next week in terms of the panel, because I know Christiana's scheduled to be one of them. So now that we're at 2 hours and 36 minutes, that's the new record.
New record!
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, we went well past. That's awesome. That's exactly.
We should all take a screenshot, like.
That much energy for 2 hours and 36
right now. Mark, you can. I will. You will. Let's go. Okay. 3. You guys got to do it on. Okay. It's going to be on 1. So I'll go 3, 2, and on 1. Okay. 3, 2.
Oh, yes.
Right.
You were here for the moment in the history when we went to 2 hours and 37 minutes. Yeah, this is going to be interesting, because it's, let's see, right now, and I always say scheduled, because I understand things happen. Just like tonight, Erica Vincent was really wanting to be here, and then things happen with her schedule. But like next week, so it's Christiana that I know. So people that are watching, you get to hear this first, because I haven't mentioned this anywhere. Leah Ingram, who was with me last week, who's been a terrific band, and I love her voice. And then we have our international guest, who's going to be calling in from New Zealand, and it's going to be it'll be Saturday for her at 2 in the afternoon. So I don't know how much drinking she's going to do, but you don't need to drink. But she's from Life is Easy, the web series, and she's got the theater that she does over there. She's part of a soap opera right now, and so Chai Ling Huang is going to be joining us on schedule. So those are the 3 people that we have joining the fun table. So can they go to 2 hours and 38 minutes and a few more? I don't know. We'll have to see. And I forgot to mention that if you weren't watching last week, I mentioned that WellGo USA has been kind enough to donate a brand new Blu-ray that I'm going to be giving away during one of these fun sessions. It has not shown. Yeah, it has not shown up yet, but there's probably a good chance it's going to show up between now and next Friday. So if it does, then I'm going to be giving that away to some lucky person out there, and that's how we're going to do that. And we'll kind of see. But let's find this last question so that people can kind of either go to sleep or do what they're going to do next. No, let's go back up to the top. Where did they go? Oh, there they are. Okay. What's something that you've never been able to do well?
That's so easy. just anything sports related. It's so stereotypical, but yes. Anything sports related, so bad. I wish I could be better at it, but yeah.
That's so weird because you're a musician, and I mean, sports has so much to do with like manual dexterity and just
only with
fun.
my hands.
There you go.
Anything with like body movement. Actually, I used to skateboard a lot in high school, but that didn't translate to anything else.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yep.
I suck at cooking. And I cook, and I try. I really try.
Have you gotten better, though, because of everything going on?
I don't know if I've gotten better. I found things that I can make without a huge fail. Like I can make pico de gallo. I made a pretty good pico de gallo. And I can make Mexican food okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's not so bad. But like I don't have the patience to follow recipes. I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna put more of this in it. This doesn't look right. Like I don't trust it. Like I have trust issues. So just I end up doing my own thing and I always regret it. I always go wrong.
There's only a few ingredients where you can always just add more, which
salt.
It is salt and garlic. A lot of people. I know there are people that don't like garlic at all. I'm like, why?
Not real people.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You, Mark?
Let's see. Industrial Girl says draw. Stick figures are her friends. Okay.
Hands. You can never draw hands.
Yeah, hands are so hard to draw.
Yeah.
I know for me, the first thing that came to mind is I've never been able to snap my fingers. I don't. It's funny because like my mom can't remember what is it. Can I not whistle or can I not snap my fingers? So no, I can whistle. I can't. I don't know what's going on. So anybody that's still watching this, if you ever meet me in person, if you want to just try to snap your fingers in front of my face to annoy me, that's something you can do. Or just behind me, I'll just hear the finger snapping. I'm like, God damn it!
Oh my God!
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong, but I can't do it. Yes, and it never gets better. I can sit there and try to work, and it doesn't matter what hand. It doesn't happen for me. And being a musician,
have you tried a different finger? Some people go like that, you know. Some people do that.
I don't know what it is, but no.
So, you're just like I don't.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. Use the pads of your fingers. Trust me, this has been going on for years. I have a
feeling every time you say that, people start going like, "It's just like this. It's just goes like this."
Mark, that was a great interview. I was so snappy. I just love the timing and the pacing of that interview.
Okay.
You must hate jazz concerts, right?
Yeah, it comes up in like the most, like places that you wouldn't even think about when someone's just trying to explain something or keep time with you. if you're at a grocery store or something, they're trying to like get someone's attention. They're trying to snap their finger.
You're like, ah.
Yeah, I have to say, hey, you there? Come over here.
It's like you're playing the violin.
Yeah. You just go slow snap. You're like, I'm slow snapping. I'm slow snapping.
Yep, that's me. There we go. Warts and all, everybody. You have like a laundry list of things of Mark that are like interesting or just weird or whatever.
You can slow snap.
Yeah, so you can add that to the list. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, hey, I mean, it was so great, Nicole and John, having you here, and everyone in the chat. That's been awesome. It makes it so much more interactive when people are willing to, say something and type something in the chat, and I'm getting better about responding to them and saying them too. So that helps too. And like I mentioned, so next Friday, same time, 7 p.m., same places. If there's any kind of interviews in between, I don't have any planned, but if something comes out of the woodwork, then you'll just kind of see those on my social media. I'm always on Facebook and Instagram. I don't really use Twitter, even though I have an account, and any of the other kind of fancy schmancy things that people use. I don't tend to post there. So Instagram to me is the least drama oriented. That's why I use it the most. But I've had so much fun. Again, it's been 2 hours and 44 minutes. But it doesn't seem like we've been talking that long.
It doesn't actually.
And I think once somebody, again, a couple of people told me that they really look at it as more of a podcast and they love this kind of thing on Fridays, that they can, one guy was telling me after last week, so I could hear all the laughter and I just loved it. Even if he didn't quite know what we were saying or whatever, because he's busy doing his own thing, just the fact that it kind of took him away from, all the heaviness out there right now that we're still dealing with. And that makes it all worthwhile to me. So thank you for taking the time. Hopefully you have a great night, great weekend, everybody. Nicole, John, everybody in the chat. And until next time, see you all later.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you. Thanks.